did I do?
I was like, you can vouch for me. Wow, I guess that's
Suitability. I don't know if it's
Recording in progress.
Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock, I call the September 18th, 2024 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
all right.
Announcements from the chair. A note to all residents. All citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. Meetings are also archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who missed the live meetings. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using this number, 929-205-6099. This will not permit participation in the meeting. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens are able to join a Zoom webinar using Zoom webinar ID 868-2106-5426, then you need to hit the pound sign. Once again, the Zoom ID is 868-2106-5426 pound. Any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address when joining the webinar. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. Upcoming events, head to the library on Wednesday, September 25th at 3 o'clock for a health fair sponsored by the Franklin Health Department. The event will include local vendors, local health resources, health services, exhibitors, activities for kids, and much more. Franklin Downtown Partnership presents the annual Harvest Festival on Saturday, October 1st. The event is downtown from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the center of the Cultural District and features live music, over 160 vendors, crafters, food booths, and more. On Friday, October 4th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Senior Center will be hosting their annual Senior Expo. They will have entertainment, raffle prizes, and most importantly, the opportunity to meet a variety of vendors to provide the community with a wealth of information and resources specific to seniors. The DPW has extended their 2024 hydrant painting event. Last minute entries will be accepted until September 20th, 2024. More information is available on the Water Sewer Department's website under News and Announcements. The Town council will hold office hours tomorrow, September 19th at 8:30 at the Franklin Senior Center. And just a reminder that the Franklin Farmers Markets are taking place every Friday on the town common from 2 to 6 p.m. Okay, moving on, citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Town clerk, please.
Hello, Nancy Danello, your town clerk. So I can see the light. It's almost here. The last of the elections is coming up, November 5th, the big one. We're going to start in-person early voting on October 19th. That's a Saturday. I've extended the hours. We're going to be here 2 full weeks prior to the election, both Saturday and Sunday. So it's going to be done here at the town hall. Early voting, what's that?
High school.
It's not at the high school. It's here in the town clerk's office. I couldn't put the kids out. I would be putting them out for 3 full weeks. 2 weeks for in-person early voting, a week for a setup in the election. You know, they have their dances, they have sports, they have everything they do in the gym. I just couldn't do it to them. So I think we can handle it here. As a matter of fact, I know we can handle it here. You may have a 2-minute wait, but you know what? We're quick. And if you do, think of those kids. Think of the Sadie Hawkins dance that they're enjoying in their gym. So it starts October 19th, 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. And then Sunday, who's laughing behind me? TJ. I hear you.
I think it was Representative Boyd.
Well, it was Jeff.
I don't know if they still do Sadie Hawkins.
They do. And when I was planning on having it there, and they said, well, how about the dance? I said, have the dance. So they were thrilled. They're very happy. And I have to say, and kudos to her, the new principal, Maria, she is amazing to work with. She's actually giving us a place to eat on Election Day. A nice cafeteria we can sit and enjoy without being rushed. So thank you, Maria. Back to our schedule. TJ. Saturday, October 19th. Sunday, October 20th, 9 to 1. Monday, we start with regular business hours. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday from 8 to 4, Wednesday from 8 to 6, and then Friday from 8 to 1. That's 2 full weeks. So if anybody wants to bring me a coffee, you all know I like coffee. So I know it's early, but please just remember, and as soon as those ballots come in, we have people on standby. They will be mailed out. Right now, I think we have a total of like 6,500 in requests, and they come in on a daily basis. So remember, the ballots will come in. Within 3-4 days, they'll be out. If you have any questions, if you don't remember if you requested a vote by mail ballot, give me a call. There's always someone in the office. And I have information on the website as well, franklinma.gov. Navigate to the town clerk's page, and there's a wealth of information on there. And if you can't find something, call me. And that's all I have. Mr. Mercer, thank you very much. Council members, thank you. TJ, thanks.
Thank you. Next.
Nice.
This is Cass. Please come forward.
Sue Cass, 146 Long Hill Road, and before I start, can we just verify the date of the Harvest Fest? Can somebody do that?
It's the 28th. 28th.
28.
Okay,
28.
thank you.
I think it's September 28th.
Yes, it is. It is. September 28th.
Yes, okay, so I'm here to remind the council and community members about an event opening on Saturday, September 28th, on the front lawn of the Franklin Public Library. Kicking off at the Harvest Fest celebration, the Franklin Friday Knitters will share their outdoor yarn installation. A thank you to the library. This project was created by a group of women who have been meeting weekly for years to share their enthusiasm for knitting and crocheting. Since 2018, the library has offered them a place to sit and knit. To thank the library for this generosity and simultaneously show the town of Franklin that there are fiber arts alive and well here in Franklin, we will be installing a yarn artwork on the front lawn of the library. Interested visitors are encouraged to stop by the Franklin Cultural District booth at the Harvest Fest for more information, or to drop by at the library on Fridays, 10 to 12, to join us to sit, knit, crochet, or chat. We offer particular thanks to DPW for their support in helping us put up this exhibit. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you for correcting my mistake on the date of the Harvest Fest. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Please come forward. Name and address, please.
Jane Calloway, Trip, 607 Maple Street. Okay, I wanted to address a point that was made by Councilor Cormier Ledger last week. Well, not last week, but at the meeting regarding threats and hate groups on Facebook. First, if any council member is actually receiving threats, that is completely unacceptable. We should be able to communicate as adults without resorting to threats. Threatening someone is always wrong, and I sincerely apologize if any of you are actually being threatened. However, I also want to address the comment about hate groups on Facebook. If the groups that Councilor Cormier Ledger is referring to are the ones that I am familiar with, I will want to clarify a few things. They're not hate groups. These are groups of residents who are frustrated with the issues facing in the town and have lost trust in those representing them. While it's often suggested that people shouldn't turn to Facebook for information, residents use these groups to discuss what's happening in town. It's been mentioned many times that you guys are overwhelmed with emails, and sometimes you just can't get to them all. The issue with these groups is not hate, but rather frustration with the direction the town is taking. Labeling them as hate groups simply because they don't agree with a certain decision or a viewpoint is unfair. I find it concerning for a council member to characterize residents in this way. Yes, these people are angry, and understandably so. I joined some of these groups back in '21 when I ran for council, and I did that so I would better understand their perspectives. It's easy to engage with residents who are content, but it's essential and also it is essential to also understand those who feel upset and disillusioned. Only then can we claim to represent the entire community. Additionally, I have seen council members make comments that could also be construed as hateful or insulting. Before labeling residents, I believe council members should reflect on some of their own statements. As elected officials, you are held to a higher standard and represent all the residents in town. Residents have the right to express their views on any platform, to include Facebook. Councilor Patrick Sheridan, you recently made a comment that could have been seen as a violation of Resolution 20-14. A resolution that was put into place by council. You spoke against a candidate who is also a resident you are supposed to represent by saying Becca will crush her. When asked if you ever spoke to the candidate, a resident personally, you said no. That this wasn't just an expression of an opinion. This is a violation of the resolution. Accountability is key, and your comments suggest to many that you don't represent all residents, but rather those who share your views. That raises questions about your ability to serve the entire community fairly. In conclusion, if council members don't like the discussions on these Facebook groups, they do not have to participate. However, if they choose to engage, they should be prepared for responses that may challenge their perspectives. Not all opinions will align with your own. Just as many agendas being pursued do not align with the views of all residents. Hate is never acceptable, but labeling disagreements as hate dilutes the meaning of the term. We must be careful. I'm done. We must be careful with how we use this word, as it risks losing the true significance when it's applied too broadly.
Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak to an item not on tonight's agenda? I don't see anybody. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda, approval of minutes. We have none this evening. Next is one of the fun things we get to do. And tonight we have a proclamation in recognition of Patrol Officer James Lawrence, and I ask the chief to come forward.
Am I good here?
Sure,
Okay.
you're good there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Yeah, great day for one of our members, a little bit sad for the rest of us that we're, James is retiring. James, would you like to come up? James Lawrence retired from the Franklin Police Department on August 16th, 2024, after 37 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Franklin and the Franklin Police Department. Born in Oxford, North Carolina, James moved to Boston in 1967 and graduated from Boston English High School. Almost beating that team in Hyde Park that time. James started with the Franklin Police Department in 1987 and has served the majority of his career in the Patrol Operations Division, with the exception of a brief time in 2015 when he served as a traffic officer with the Community Service Unit. In 2018, James was honored for his many years of service in the Patrol Operations Division when he was designated our new senior patrol officer, pinned with Patrol Officer Badge number 1, and provided with the radio call sign of Oscar 1. James has received several recognitions, letters of achievement, commendations, and awards throughout his career, to include the Exceptional Duty Award in 1995. A highlight of James's career was his participation on the ground floor of a newly formed regional team at a time when regionalization in law enforcement was in its infancy. In 1997, James joined the Norfolk County Special Tactics and Response Team, North Star. This was a newly formed regional team consisting of Norfolk County police agencies charged with providing crowd control services to member communities when in need of specially trained officers to deal with civil disorders requiring the response of a trained crowd control unit. In 2002, North Star was transformed into what is known today as the Metropolitan Law Enforcement Council, or MetroLEC, consisting of 48 law enforcement agencies throughout 4 Massachusetts counties. MetroLEC offers services related to cyber crimes, investigative services, tactical bicycle unit, motorcycle unit, marine unit, search and rescue, and special weapons and tactics, or SWAT. James served with the Metro Star unit responsible for search and rescue, crowd control, and SWAT. For the past 10+ years, James has been a logistics specialist with the SWAT team. Throughout his 27 years as a member of MetroLEC, James has participated in hundreds of SWAT and search and rescue related missions throughout the 48 member communities. Participated in providing security for the Democratic National Convention in Boston in 2004, and assisted Boston with providing security during championship sporting events involving the Patriots, Red Sox, Celtics, and Bruins, and responded to the Boston Marathon bombing, providing security and searching for the suspects for 6 straight days in 2013. On a personal note, James is one of only 5 officers remaining in the department from when I came on the department in 1996. And with the retirement of Lieutenant John Ryan in early October, there will only be 3 officers left. I was also one of the members that joined North Star in 1997 with James. We served on the team together for an incredible long time. So between working with James as a new officer, he had 11 years on in Franklin when I got there. I don't think he realizes it, but I learned a lot from James first coming on. You know, watched him, saw how he, dealt with the public, and everything. And then, of course, going to some of the most critical incidents throughout the 48 communities on a regular basis, with James is something that I'm never going to forget. James, you've been a steadfast employee for the department for 37 years. You've always been there. You've been there for everybody else. You are going to be missed, and you'll never be replaceable.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
One of the traditions of the department is to, basically, we fly a flag on the flagpole out in front of the station for a 24-hour period. We then end up folding the flag during a ceremony out front. James was there. The flag is then placed into this flag box. It has our patch and our badge with your number 1. Patrol Officer James O. Lawrence, in appreciation for 37 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Franklin and your commitment to the Franklin Police Department. April 26, 1987, August 16, 2024. Again, thank you for everything, James.
Thank you, Chief.
This time, we have a proclamation from the council, and I've asked former patrolman Ryan Chandler, who wanted some of the beats with James back in the day, to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to do this. I'm very honored, James, to read this. A proclamation honoring Patrol Officer James Lawrence on the occasion of his retirement from the Franklin Police Department. Whereas Patrol Officer James Lawrence joined the Franklin Police Department on April 26, 1987, and after 37 years of dedicated service, retired on August 16, 2024. And whereas throughout his 37 years of service, Officer Lawrence has held many positions, as the chief said, including Metro Elect SWAT, the Regional Response Team, and SWAT Logistics Unit. And whereas during his tenure with the Franklin Police Department, Officer Lawrence has been involved in many different operations, most notably as a responder to the Boston Marathon bombings and as a security officer at the 2004 Democratic National Convention, and as a participant in countless SWAT-related missions throughout the 48-member communities in the Metro Law Enforcement Council. And whereas Officer Lawrence has received several recognitions and awards over his career, including an Exceptional Duty Award in 1995, a proclamation from the Town Council in 1993, and recognition for his participation in the Democratic National Convention in 2004 again. And whereas Patrol Officer James Lawrence spent the entirety of his career in law enforcement as a dedicated and valued member of the Franklin Police Department, whose commitment and contributions are widely recognized and greatly appreciated. And he is wished many happy years on his well-deserved retirement. Now, therefore, be it known that Patrol Officer James Lawrence is hereby commended and recognized by the Town Council of the Town of Franklin for 37 years of dedicated service with the Franklin Police Department and congratulated on his retirement.
Stay there, we know one more for you. Representative Roy.
Hey, you're here all week.
37 years.
37 years. I can't believe they let officers start at age 2, and that's a credit to your department. Happy 39th birthday.
She swore me in.
All right. Excellent.
Warm welcome.
Well, that's beautiful, and it's said that things have to be said 3 times before people understand and read them. So I'm going to share with you a proclamation, a resolution actually, that we did on the House floor on September 3rd. The Commonwealth is very grateful for your service and grateful for everything you've done, not only for the community of Franklin, but for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I'd like to read this resolution to you tonight. Whereas the dedicated and esteemed Officer James O. Lawrence is retiring from the Town of Franklin Police Department after 37 years of service, and on September 18, 2024, will be honored for his outstanding service. And whereas Patrol Officer Lawrence was born in Oxford, North Carolina in 1960 and moved to Boston with his family in 1967, where he attended Boston English High School and studied at Fisher Junior College and Northeastern University, and joined the Franklin Police Department in 1987, where he has dedicated his entire career. And whereas in 1997, Patrol Officer Lawrence joined the Metropolitan Law Enforcement Council, where he was a member of the Regional Response Team and the SWAT Logistics Unit, with whom he responded to the marathon bombings, participated in security at the Democratic National Convention in Boston in 2004, and participated in countless SWAT-related missions throughout the 48 member communities in Metro-Lec. And whereas in 2015, Officer Lawrence served with the Franklin Police Community Service Unit as a traffic officer and was recognized for his outstanding performance. He has received numerous awards and commendations, including the Exceptional Duty Award, a proclamation from the Town Council, and recognition for participation in the DNC. Therefore, be it resolved that the Massachusetts House of Representatives hereby joins with the colleagues, family, and friends of Officer James O. Lawrence in extending its congratulations on his retirement, offering best wishes for his good health and continued happiness as he embarks on new journeys, endeavors, and goals of fulfillment. And be it further resolved that a copy of these resolutions be forwarded by the Clerk of the House of Representatives to Patrol Officer James O. Lawrence. It's signed and adopted on the House floor on the 3rd of September 2024, signed by Ronald Mariano, the Speaker of the House, Stephen T. James, the Clerk of the House, and myself, whose great honor it is to be your state representative. Congratulations. Now you have to tell us about that Hyde Park
Hi, I'd like to thank everyone, town councilman, my supervisors, my chief, lieutenants, and my team, who I've worked with for 37 years, well, probably 37 years, not all my 37 years. But anyways, it's great to be in Franklin. I served Franklin. I did the best I could. I met Bob. Actually, I met him in 1978. He was playing for Hyde Park. I was playing for English High. We were going to win the game. They kicked off. All we had to do, the receiver just had to grab the ball and run the clock out. He ran down. I found this out later on. He ran down. I didn't know it was him, but we were talking about it. He jerked the ball off the guy's hand. They won the game.
My one claim to fame.
This was back in 1978. 78. But then again, I want to thank everybody. I enjoy working with Franklin, and I will miss you guys in the community.
We'll miss you.
Always treated with me with respect, and I just got along with everybody and made it easy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Officer Cuson? The last event for tonight for the police department is we have a tradition in the police department that we started in 2016, and it's to recognize the most senior patrol officer in the department. The first one was Paul Fiorio. When he retired, he passed it on to James Lawrence. And now that with Officer Lawrence's retirement, we now need to recognize the newest, most senior patrol officer who will wear the badge and carry on the responsibility for setting the example for all the other patrol officers. Officer Eric Cuson, who started his career with the Franklin Police Department in 1996, has been a dedicated officer to this community for 28 years. Officer Cuson will now wear badge number 1, the mark of the senior patrol officer, and serve as an example to the less experienced officers on how to conduct themselves professionally. James?
Congratulations.
Be careful, there aren't any paramedics here.
I'll give you my notebook.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess. James, wait a minute, we'll get a couple of photo ops here with the council. So we'll take a 5-minute recess.
You're listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio.
the September 18th meeting of the Franklin County Council back to order. And we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is appointments. First appointment is Treasurer Collector Anne Marie Dugan.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So we're recommending tonight the Town Council ratification of my appointment of Anne Marie Duggan to the position of Treasurer Collector. As all of you know, in the town charter, this was amended, I think, 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, that if the position was going to be unelected and appointed, at least it would be subject to the ratification of the council. We've included Anne Marie's resume in the packet. As you can see, she's got a little over 17 years of experience in local government, most notably 17 years of experience in the Treasurer Collector's office in Norfolk. She's been serving as the Treasurer Collector in both positions in that community for the past 7 years. And just to note, she is certified both as a treasurer and she is certified also as a collector. Anne Marie's right over here, and with the entire staff of the Treasurer Collectors. Now that I'm looking over, the whole team is here to support Anne Marie. We welcome her to the staff and hope that the council will ratify the appointment this evening. Thank you very much.
Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very happy to read this appointment. This is an appointment for the town of Franklin for the position of Treasurer Collector. Anne Marie Duggan, the Treasurer Collector Interview Committee, has recommended to the town administrator the appointment of Anne Marie Duggan to serve as a Treasurer Collector of the town of Franklin, and the town administrator has appointed Anne Marie Duggan to serve as a Treasurer Collector of the town of Franklin. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of Anne Marie Duggan to serve as a Treasurer Collector for the town of Franklin.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Councilor Plager.
We're making history a few times tonight. This is going to be the first time we'll have a treasurer collector from out of town, because it's always had been an elected position. My question is, did we have anyone from Franklin, or any people from Franklin that applied for this job?
We did not have any candidates that met the minimum criteria for the position.
But we did have people from Franklin apply.
We have people from Franklin apply, but they didn't meet the minimum criteria for the position. So we didn't consider those applicants because they didn't meet the criteria, which were to be certified as both a treasurer and a collector.
And we had a committee. Who was on the committee, may I ask?
It was the town staff that are usually, it was myself, the HR director, the former treasurer collector, and remind me, was there 4?
No.
And Marina, I'm sorry, and Marina, that's right, and Marina, the current assistant treasurer collector, of course, my bad, Marina.
Okay, those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Plager. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome aboard, Anne Marie. Second. Okay, moving on. Next appointment is Zoning Board of Appeals Associate Member Joseph Halligan. Why don't we put the appointment on the floor and then I'll go to Jen.
Okay. So, we read first?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is appointment for Zoning Board of Appeals for Mr. Joseph Halligan, 1 Newell Drive, Franklin, Mass. 02038. The town administrator has appointed Joe Halligan to serve as an associate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals with the term to expire June 30th, 2027. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of Joseph Halligan to serve as an associate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman. So as I said at the last meeting in August, there were still several seats that were outstanding. I think on the last meeting, we took care of a few of those appointments. And I had said that at that meeting, there were folks that were going through the interviews process. There were candidates for the ZBA at that time. And I reached out to that individual, and they declined to join the ZBA at this time, which did leave an open seat. As you can see in the packet, Mr. Halligan applied, I think, last week. And I don't think anybody should be remiss in knowing Joe's experience on these matters. And we're recommending the town council ratification of my appointment of Joe Halligan. I will also note, just for the public's edification, this is an associate seat. This is not a full board membership. And it would actually be the junior associate, because there's another individual, Megan Whitmore, who's been on the Zoning Board of Appeals, has been an associate for almost 10 years. So if there were a fill-in from one of the other ones that had a recusal from a conflict of interest or couldn't make a meeting or make a hearing, Megan would be the one that would step up, I think, as per ZBA policy that they've done before. Finally, I know because of the fees later on tonight, the building commissioner's here tonight. If anybody has any questions about the Zoning Board of Appeals, he'd be more than happy to answer any questions or offer any comments as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't actually have any questions for the applicant. I do have a brief statement that I've written and a couple of questions for the town administrator. So I don't need to ask the applicant any questions because I know about Mr. Halligan's many years of service to the town of Franklin, as do most of the people here. I remember when Mr. Halligan was the vice chair of the planning board and he zoomed into most, if not all, of the Economic Development Committee meetings during the 2020 and early 2021. Remember those pandemic meetings? They weren't pretty, they were very difficult. In fact, I think Mr. Halligan's attendance to those meetings, his record was better than most of my committee members. And we also serve together now in the Master Plan Update Committee. And a fun fact about Joe, some of you might not know that he has offered his shop as a ladybug hospital for and helping to take care of Franklin ladybugs when damaged, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you for that. But I believe that the association position on all our critical boards are for new people to learn the ropes, to understand the processes about what is involved and what the meetings are like, and then to transition to a full voting position on the board when it comes up, if the associate feels ready or they want to continue to graduate into that position. I'm a firm believer that we need to work to get new people involved in our town government. And how do we do that? We make room for them. We need to start appointing new people, conduct outreach, give people the information they need in a welcoming and friendly way. And since there are no term limits on any of these things, I think maybe we should start to consider to put a term limit on ourselves. That's why I put a term limit on myself of 4 terms. I'm in my 4th term now. Maybe if I step out of the way, more people will take my place. New people with new ideas to help move Franklin forward. I also believe that we all share the responsibility in recruiting new people. And if you ever see me at the farmer's market or at the library talking to somebody, that's probably what I'm doing. The biggest joy of being on the Master Plan Update Committee for me has been meeting all these young, brilliant people that live here in Franklin, and I know there are more of them out there. So while I respect Mr. Halligan's previous and present service to our town, in my heart, I just don't think it's the right fit. To the town administrator, through the chair, Jamie, is it possible to add a checkbox on the email notification list to additions to the volunteer positions? So when a position is posted, people can get an email alert. Like you can work on it, whatever, you don't have to answer it today.
Sure.
And in the revamp of the website, could Corey and Amy maybe make the volunteer opening page a little bit easier to see? Because it's not that easy to find. It would be nice if it was a big button that says volunteer here, you know, flashing and all that kind of fun stuff. So thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. 2 good points on that volunteer.
Yes.
For sure. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Joe, thank you for all your service to the town. Certainly, everybody knows who you are and everybody knows everything that you've done and continue to always be a steadfast donator when needed for various projects in town. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. But I do agree with Councilor Hamblin that we need to try to do some more intentional outreach to find some new people for some of these boards and truly build the future of Franklin. So I say that with all due respect, Joe. I appreciate everything that you do and all the committees that you serve on. But I agree with Councilor Hamblin. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Any other councilor comments? Okay, seeing none. Joe, did you want to say anything?
Sure, I'd like to speak on that.
Sure.
Joe Halligan, 1 Minute Drive. I've actually, if you go back in history, back to Jeff Nutting days, I asked him if I could be involved in the ZBA, but at the time I was on the planning board, and he had told me that I was more valuable at the time on the planning board. And you couldn't take two positions. So it's nothing new, but I've been keeping an eye on the sites and seeing what's available. I started off in January of 2008 being involved with the planning board, where this board elected me unanimous as an alternate on the planning board. I then served 3 terms where I was elected 3 times. I can tell you for a fact, in 17 years, I've never taken more than a 2-day vacation in fear that I may miss a meeting. I have a stellar record for attendance. Certainly I have the knowledge, as you all know. I've been around. I appreciate Melanie's response, but I am too on the master plan committee. I'm on the land zoning, and I was just asked recently to be on the housing and economic subcommittee because all these young people, everybody quit. There was nobody there. So I voluntarily stepped in so that we can get this master plan done. And yes, I'd like to see new blood myself, but I'm at the master plan committees, and I'm watching the Zoom camera. There's nobody coming into our meetings. There's nobody calling in. Nobody's got ideas. It's just us. That's all it is. And I'm grateful that we're all standing in there to move things forward. I can only tell you, I can go on my record. I'm faithful for the town. I've always been there for everybody. My office is up the street. I'm an open book. Anybody always had a question, even though I was on the planning board, you could drive in. Joe, could I have a minute of your time? I'm a people person. I'm 65 years old. I'm winding down on my career. I would love to just keep giving to the town. The master plan is, what, up in 3 or 4 months, and it's done? And there is nothing. And I'd still like to be somewhat actively involved. As far as Melanie said, there is a term. It's a 3-year term for an assistant. And 3 years come by, as if you don't like what Joe Halligan's doing, I don't have to get reappointed. So there is a term on it. It's not forever. And I would appreciate your support. It just means something to me. I want to give back to the community. I've been here my whole life, 12 years of school. I've dedicated a lot of time. And I can promise you, I'm not going to be here forever. There will be someone replacing all of us soon. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, seeing no other questions or comments. Sure.
Max Marangello, 127 Central Park Terrace. Mr. Chairman, I just had a question for the applicant in terms of, I wanted to thank them for their service on the master plan and how critical, and I know how much work has gone into that. And I just wanted to know for the applicant, as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, how much would you adhere to and sort of use the master plan to guide you when you're on that board? Thank you.
That's a question for you.
To guide me? Well, I'm hoping that I can help guide the board with the previous knowledge that I have and bring something. Again, it's an alternate position, second in place. I watch all the meetings. I've never seen a second alternate ever have to step up and vote. So I'm there just to give some expertise and some knowledge to the board, maybe contribute a little bit to the board, so make decisions a little easier.
I think Max's question was more, once the master plan is approved by the council,
Okay.
adhering to the master plan as
Well,
part of the zoning board of appeals.
Well, I'm hoping that the master plan would involve more of you councils, that would change a lot of laws and bylaws where it wouldn't even affect the ZBA. But if the ZBA did have to get involved, I'm certainly gonna keep in mind all the information that we've gone over to get that plan in place. But the plan is set so that the council can make some changes. So,
Understood.
thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, the vote will come on the motion to approve Joseph Halligan as an associate member of the zoning board of appeals.
Roll call vote?
Sure. Clerk will call the roll.
Cormier-Ledger.
No.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Pellegri.
Yes.
Hamlin.
No.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
That's 7 and 2, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda, public hearings. We don't have any this evening. License transactions, none this evening. And what we've all come to wait for is, here we are, with presentations and discussions. And here comes the team. DPW infrastructure presentation by the DPW staff led by Director Louis Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
2 minutes or less, I think we...
Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in. Well, I was asked to come in, obviously, and present this. And me and my staff have worked on this quite a bit. It's actually been a very good exercise for us. The numbers, I'll start before you end up seeing, are big. But I think it's been expressed that you kind of all know that to a certain degree, but we've put everything down. So to your point, I've tried to limit the number of slides and, you know, give a view from 6,000 feet where we're at the high points. But with that said, as we're going along, obviously, you know, I'll present it, but I have my staff here for specific questions if anybody has that we need to, you know, go further into. So I think we just get going at it.
Yeah, why don't we go through the presentation and then we'll open it up to questions rather than interrupt.
And I'd just like to introduce my staff. This is Doug Martin. He is the Water and Sewer Superintendent. This is Carlos Rebello, the Highway and Ground Superintendent. And we have Derek Adams, the Environmental Affairs Coordinator. And a couple of my other folks in the background. We got Jake Stanley. He's the Assistant Water and Sewer Superintendent. Tony Burnetta, the Assistant Ground Superintendent. We have Jay Stearns. He's our Facilities Manager. We have Roseanne Stepanowski. She is our Assistant Office Manager. Kate is hiding back there. Kate, Hinkley.
Or he just missed you. Or he just missed you.
Yeah. She's very helpful to the presentation. And then we got Mike Maglio, Town Engineer, and then Kathy Moore, my right-hand person, who is, she's, as you know from budget, she's just amazing with the numbers. So here we go. So highway, even though we're talking infrastructure, I thought it's important to put up there the operating budget. So our operating budget is about $1.5 million. Our pavement management report in 2013 recently done. Just so you know, all these reports, they're now up online, so you'll be able to see this. So our average RSR by segment now is a 71.73. This is where we go around town, we evaluate all the roads. The pavement management report in 2019 was a 73.56. So we've gone down in the last 6 years because, you know, is what they showed, you know, I'll show you in a sec, the cost of repairs, we're not putting the money in for the infrastructure. So the roads are slowly decreasing. The cost of repair improvements to achieve an 80 rating, which was we originally did way back in 2013 or 12, was $39 million. So that's where we're at right now for that number. These are just a couple of slides to show you really quick. I think you've seen them before. The one on the left shows like where we're at, how much money we spend, and you know what, if we spend scenario 5, I'm trying to reach, you know, 5 million, we're obviously going to go up. If we keep spending $1 million, we're going to keep going down. So over the last couple of years, me and Mike went through and looked at all the numbers that between Chapter 9 that was appropriated to road improvements, because we can use it for other things, and then also, you know, the waterline pipeline program, that some water money was used to improve the roads. We spent about $1.6 million on average over the last couple of years, and that includes some ARPA money that we got also. So, you know, with that said, if you look at the scale, it's kind of on track that, you know, 1.6, we're not maintaining. We're actually going down. So it's pretty close. So highway, sidewalks always come up. We have 126 miles of sidewalks, 76 are asphalt, 50 are concrete. We recently just completed, it's still in draft, but it is online, the sidewalk condition index, that's we call that. So we're at 67.42. The cost to bring the sidewalks up to an 80, you know, that's kind of the number we kind of go along, which is good, is about $18.5 million for existing sidewalks we have now. We also did in the past parking lots. We have almost 41 acres of parking lots throughout town, and those are not, the majority of them are obviously school parking lots that we maintain, and I just want folks to know that. Cost to bring them up to an 80% rating is about $1 million. So this is a new thing that we've been tasked to do, a lot of folks don't realize. It's called an ADA transition plan. So the town is required to look at all of our ADA compliance, you know, like the crosswalks in town, and to go out there and to bring them all into compliance, which is the new ones that you see we've been slowly tackling downtown. You know, the concrete ones with the berms on and everything. So those need to be done everywhere in town. So there's 1,253 of these ramps to be reconstructed, supposing to plan over the next 20 years. That's $10 million. So, you know, that's gonna come up. And then we were asked to look at the quiet zone. We hired a consultant to look at that. That's the quiet zone, so that when the trains go through town, they like Norfolk, they don't have to run their whistles. Well, to do that, the study, we had a big meeting, you know, with the train people and everything else. Basically, it's gonna cost $7.7 million to do that, if that's what we decide to do. Grounds, once again, our operating budgets. These are just things I want to put out there that we deal, it's all part of infrastructure, it's paid for, but a lot of it goes through, you know, maintenance. The dog park, the sculpture park, community garden, the disc golf, the street hockey, the tennis, the pickleball. These are all things we need to maintain. Natural turf, synthetic turf. Synthetic turf, you know, the council's had a plan, we put money aside every year, but that was originally for 2. Now we got 3. And I can tell you, we were estimated last time we did it on $1 million, you know, a field. Well, now they're about $1.8 million to do them, and now they look more at padding than just the whole granular inside. Central Motors, our operating budget's about $1.1 million. Vehicles and equipment. We have a lot of vehicles and equipment. To give you an idea, we have 174 registered vehicles right now. And that's not just Public Works, that's the assessor's cars. That's the police department. That's the school department with their vans. 174 vehicles that we maintain, okay? Then we have about 200 plus other motorized vehicles, which you consider our lawnmowers, our generators, our excavators. You know, there's a lot of equipment out there that we maintain. And then the stuff that takes a lot of effort is obviously the attachments that go on them. Those plows, okay? Those sanders on the back, the hydraulics, okay? They're part of it, but they are still part of equipment. It's a lot of maintenance. So that's one of the big things we deal with. Obviously, fuel goes up and down. You know, we're kind of low right now, but it can go back up. We have to, you know, budget that all the time. Costs of new vehicles are just, they're exponential. I cannot believe how much they go up. And when they break down, the parts that we have to wait for them to get them, it's just, I could never have predicted it would be that bad. You know, COVID just stayed when it comes with parts. So, and then this is kind of a thing, but push for environmentally vehicles right now. So Massachusetts passed a law that, you know, we will not be able to buy anybody in the state, and it's complicated, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but we can't buy diesel trucks anymore after July 1st. Okay, they're done, okay? And I just want you to know that Jay worked on, there was a grant out there that you get $400,000 for the purchase of an electric vehicle. We could have got that grant, but that truck cost $800,000. So we cost them $400,000 for a truck, even after we paid for it, then normally probably get around $250,000. And the thing about electric vehicles is, like, in my job, it's not like I'm just driving down the road. We're doing emergency work. It's almost like you need 2. Because one's out there, the other one needs to be charging. But we don't have the infrastructure right now to handle that, but that's what they passed, like California. So this is gonna be a big deal. You'll probably hear more of this comes up in the papers. Our recycling center, our operating budget is around $250,000. You know, we have 3,800, you know, customers. They really like what we do up at the recycling center. I've been here for 18 years and 19 years almost. So the old landfill that was supposed to be capped, we own it. We act that part of state forest we now own that has trash on it. So now we got to come up with a plan. It's been a really big thing, but we got to cap the old landfill. And we got to instruct and improve, you know, recycling center. I think that everybody wants. Obviously, organics credits in sight. We're looking at grants, but you know, the estimated cost to cap that correctly, take care of what we own in state forest, is going to be $6 to $10 million. Drinking water, our operating budget is $5.3 million. Obviously, our past projects, our water main replacement program, have been very, very popular in town. Over 20 years, we spent $22 million. The Grove Street Water Treatment Plant completed, you know, That was $12 million. I'm just gonna, one thing we always hear that about Franklin and its water and why is there's a water conservation plan or water ban, okay? Right now, our permit, as you know, we're shorter than most people. Most people have to start May 1st and go through September. Our 1 day a week watering allows us to start the first part of June and pretty much lift it in September. Well, it hasn't rained in, what, 24 days? We have plenty of water, okay? Because you have made investments in our water treatment system, okay? Grove Street, okay, the one we did down there is we have water. And we've been like, one of the things I talk to Doug every day is like how the drawdown's doing. We know we're doing good. We're treating, you know, the water's good and we still have it. I mean, if we went another 24 days, don't get me wrong, the aquifers are gonna go down. But our system can handle what's going on right now, the iron and magnesium water. So that's really good. So, you know, people, I mean, Hopkinton, I just had to do a full ban. And we're not. You can, you know, people, like we always say, wait till the fall, you know, you gotta put your lawn in, go ahead. So they can keep watering, okay? Don't abuse it.
Smart watering.
Yeah, smart watering. So currently approved projects, obviously we got the Franklin Ridge Booster Pump Station, that's $3.2 million, that's all grant money. That'll be starting early spring. Well 7 PFAS, as you know, that's our first PFAS plant, $6.5 million, that's already been funded through SRF. That'll be starting this fall. I hate to say it's just the first of PFAS that we're gonna have to deal with. And then the Fisher Street Water Treatment Plant, upgrade PFAS, that's a $25 million SRF loan, so we're moving along on that. Obviously, the water main replacement road program, we haven't funded that in the last couple of years. The new improvement program, we're looking at $12 million. Water tank replacement rehab, we got some new, was it the third now?
Second oldest riveted steel tank in the country.
Still in use.
1888.
When I started, it was number 7, so we're moving up. Want to be number 1. So,
And the oldest?
Yeah, be the oldest in the country.
What's the oldest?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So we look at replacement of those, Pod Hill, you know, rehabilitation, Pleasant Street service area. I've talked about that. We got to do different pressure zones down there. And obviously PFAS, you know, there's 50 million potentially out there. We're working with different companies. Mark's been helping us out, possible settlements to get some money. But one of those things, it's gonna look like a really big number, but when they divide up with all the different communities, it's gonna be a small number, and we're still gonna probably hold a lot of money. This is just, I just threw this on here because we have planned on this for a while. If we decide to go forward with a water line program, you know, Park Road, we were able to put some money in. We did that this year. We did. I mean, Fails, I'm sorry. And then Park is the other one. This is a water quality type thing. It's the old cast iron pipes are getting all clogged up.
You want to go back a couple slides? That's the picture right there.
Yeah,
Looks
like one of my arteries.
Yeah.
The yellow is the clog.
Yeah, that's what we took out of Fail Street. Wow. You can imagine Park's pretty similar, as well as the section on the hillside. So that's the next priority project that we would like to do.
And then I'm sure you hear a lot about Pine Street and Beach Street. That's old AC pipe. We've been getting a lot of breaks up there. So that's more of the pipe that we want to fix. And that road actually fits wonderfully with the roadway program. And then Partridge and Maple Street, Meadow Parkway, and then Pleasant Hill Road and Acorn Terrace are areas that we're looking to do. Wastewater, operating budget $5.8 million. Obviously, the Beaver Street Interceptor project's by far the biggest capital project we've ever done in town. It's going along, I think it's going along pretty good. We're doing well with it. A lot of you guys haven't called and complained that we're doing stuff, and I mean, I think it goes to these guys. We had a great outreach program. You know, we closed the road behind Starbucks, and we didn't get a lot of complaints. So that's a really good sign, so I'm just saying it. I&I lining program, we still have to keep lining it. You know, do you think you've seen the value over the years? We send less product over the treatment plant, costs us less money. You know, 23 lift stations in town, we just keep doing work on those. And our collection system, seeking a grant for phase 2 of our asset management plan. So stormwater, our operating budget now is a little over $1 million. Phosphorus control plan, that was a big thing we had to do. Basically, it says we got to spend $30 million in the next 5 years to meet the permit requirements. So at some point, we'll have to talk about this because realistically, we're not gonna be able to do that, but we keep going on. I think we all know that, but that's the permitting. The good news is, a little side thing is that, you know, we work with a lot of other communities. And Newton, when they were so you remember we explain things based on the science, you know, they make estimates of what you do and everything else. Well, Brookline did Brookline, they did a study on their catch basins, how much phosphorus was put away, and it was way above what they were getting credit for, like the vision. So we're gonna test ours this year, so we can get a bigger bang for the buck, so hopefully reduce our overall cost. That was like really good news. Yeah, so that means we don't have to do as much. So, I mean, just to put out there, the average residential cost right now is about $60 per household. If we had to do that, just that part of it, we're looking at $350 annually. I know that's not reasonable. Please don't say that. And then the 20-year cost is basically to spend $120 million, and we've kind of heard about that all along. Just to give you a little update, you know, it's based, next year we're spending $300,000 just to be in compliance with the illicit discharge and program, which basically it's people that are tying into our stormwater system illegally, maybe dumping sewage or other things out there. So we're working through that. And you've heard this all before, more frequent street sweepings, maintain upgrade detention basins. We've done some around town already. We've used some ARPA money for that as we can. Construct new infrastructure and use science to our advantage. So additional issues, not just infrastructure, is personnel. I mean, generally speaking, got a shortage of workers. I think anybody that's in the business just knows that. And the other thing which I'm seeing down, you know, it's kind of the police were talking about too, I am getting people in, but people aren't staying. So the institutional knowledge, we do a lot of work about, you know, training them up our way, and then they might leave. And, you know, Karen's here, she can tell you the folks that are leaving, not necessarily because they don't like working down there, they don't like the work, they just find a better job and it's quality of life. It's a closer commute, or it could be more money. That's what, but, you know, people that stay for 3 or 4 years, they just leave. And they always leave on a good note. Outsourcing, we keep looking at different ways to do it, but there's a certain expense associated with that, because a lot of stuff we have to keep doing. And then, hopefully through town, you've already seen I'm just saying again, snowplow contractors, we got our sign up. That's some job that no one wants to do anymore, and we're trying to find them, and I just, knock on wood, we don't have a bad winter, because, you know, we got a dedicated group of guys down there, but we really need the help. And if we don't have them, it's just gonna take longer, and it's gonna be more complaints, and you guys are gonna hear it. Global warming, I think we all hear about flooding all the time. You know, we get calls, hey, we never had, you know, water flood in our basement before, you know, this, that, and the other thing. You know, we're having the extremes. I think everybody knows this, I'm not telling you, and the extreme events that just go along. But, you know, Public Works is first responders, and we're the ones that folks expect us to be out there. Construction costs are very, very volatile right now. They go up. They're dealing with the same personnel issues. You know, they're paying people, they're not paying people. They're dealing with different materials. We've actually been very successful with our bidding. We actually got very good bid prices this year on the work that we did. We put them out early. Mike did a great job on that. This is like the first year I'm not gonna call contractors to finish stuff up, you know, because we're actually in good stead with all our jobs. So here's some numbers for you to gander at. So what's funded right now is $67 million, and that's the Franklin Ridge Booster Station, the Well 7 PFAS with SRF loan, Fisher Street Water Treatment Upgrades, $25 million, and Beaver Street Interceptor. It's $33 million. What's barely funded, about $63 million, and that would be like the parking lots improvements, and I'll say the roadway improvements, the sidewalk improvements, and the turf fields. You know, the first roadway ones, because we do have money coming in from Chapter 90, and there is, you know, when you guys can do it, if there's extra cash in the operating, we can put money in there. But it's not really getting close to the amounts that we need, or sometimes people expect. The turf fields, like I said, the 3 of those, we're looking at, you know, $5.4 million. We were planning on 2, a little over 2 after 10 years, so that's a number we have to look at. And then we got $83 million, and this is like a low number for unfunded. The stormwater phosphorus plan, $30 million. The ADA transition plan, $10 million. The new recycling center, $8 million. The quiet zone, $7.7 million. Water main replacement, $10 million, if you want to go through that. Water tanks, 12.2, and Pleasant Street service area, 5.5. You know, it's a lot of money out there. And I know, because you guys hear it all the time, there's a lot of competing type things. But it's kind of what I want to put out there, and if you guys got any questions.
Thanks.
They're quiet.
Still weeding through those numbers.
Still like in shock. My eyes went, what?
Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, through you, I think, to the town administrator. And this has to do with stormwater mandates. Since the stormwater fees have been implemented, how much has been going into the fund now to support these stormwater things? How much have we collected roughly since it's been assessed?
Looking at roughly about 1.5 million. I think the budget last year was like 1.25-ish, somewhere in that range. And then, you know, this was the first year we have to still go through the DOR certification of that utility. So we have estimates, so I don't really want to get into estimates, but you're looking at probably a little bit of a surplus in what's called retained earnings, which, you know, eventually we're going to probably come back with a policy on that. We have one on for water and sewer in terms of emergency funds, and we'll probably do the same thing with stormwater. I would also add in there that does not accommodate for the $1.5 million that was given in ARPA County funds, which they've been spending on some of the projects that you've seen up here. So we've done about we're in the process of about, over the last, since we did the utility, Councilor Jones, probably just a hair under $3 million worth of work that's either been done or is currently being done or is contracted to get done, you know, over the next, you know, roughly 6 to 10 months.
Now, Brutus, of the funds that have been collected, I am assuming there's a plan to meet would be specifically the MS4. Is that what these funds are ultimately doing?
Yeah, they all fund, there's so many different taskings in the MS4, so we use a lot of the money for, you know, drainage improvements. We've done different retention ponds, street sweeping. There's a lot of different things that we're able to do. And that one thing that working through with the comptroller was that we did want to establish retained earnings because we didn't want to go up against it, so we have to put some money in the reserves. That's just good business.
Thank you. My second question has to do with PFAS. And I know Jamie loves to say everyone's got PFAS in them in some level because it's on Teflon, it's on pans, and it's in our drinking water, it's in our plastics and everything else. But I guess what confuses me, and maybe give me a little education being just a dumb electrician, is my understanding of PFAS is you're talking almost in a micron level, correct? Like 6 microns or something like that. I mean, you're talking basically down to the level of what would be like a salination type of filtration, correct? In other words, you could quite literally not just remove the PFAS, but like that's the level of taking salt out of water.
I wouldn't go that far. The technology that's used is just a GAC filter.
Yeah.
And it's really just meant to strip out, you know, those contaminants of PFAS. So it's not as far as like a desal would go, but with reverse osmosis.
Okay, not with reverse osmosis, but like for instance, when I talk about silica dust and silicosis and the microfibers that go with that, those are cancerous, toxic items. PFAS is now obviously considered a toxic item. What happens with the filters and the toxic waste that this is going to generate?
So, it gets backwashed, and that backwashed water goes, you know, into our sewer system, which then goes to our Child River Pollution Control District, and they have obviously their PFAS regulations that are going on the wastewater side. And then in the end, that media at some point needs to get changed out, and that will go to a specific facility like a Clean Harbors or whatnot. But you bring up a good point, is now everyone's starting to treat for this, and we're filtering it out.
Right.
We're gonna have all this material that is PFAS related.
Right.
So
It's gonna get back to us.
eventually there's gonna be an issue there. So,
That's kind of what I was wondering.
It's so depressing, Clint. I know.
I'm sorry.
There's
You're gonna
definitely,
die of something.
There's definitely a big technology market going on right now,
Yeah.
with new technologies trying to come to the market and for destruction and whatnot, so it's kind of a hot topic.
Thank you for the education. It was very knowledgeable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Councilor Frangillo.
Sure, thank you. I'll start with the questions, and then I'll give my speech. Questions. Complete streets. Have we been able to successfully apply for any funding? And if so, what? And if not, why not?
Yeah, Mike takes care of that. We have.
Mike Maglio, Town Engineer. So the Complete Streets program, usually there's about $400,000 or so worth of funding available through the state. This past year, we did apply for about $80,000 for a grant for some, for a couple of flashing beacons crossings, the crossing signal that went down on Grove Street that was paid through that grant. Also, the one on Lincoln Street at Sherman Ave was paid through that. In addition, a couple of bike racks that were put in through town. That was the first round. We can apply for more over the next year or two to still tap into the remaining funds that are available to the town. And we'll probably be using that for some other sidewalks, some other projects coming up in the next year or two. So it hasn't been applied for yet, but it's available to us to apply for some of these other projects.
Awesome. So we're like at 400,000. So we're trying to spend that as it comes up and for the best jobs.
Yeah.
That, we did receive that.
Great. Yeah, and then I guess a related question. So when we redo our, it's my sense that typically when we redo the pipes, that's when we try to redo the roads at the same time. That would be the cheapest time to install sidewalks, multi-use pathways, and bike lanes. What is our policy and approach right now? I mean, this is being discussed at the master plan as well, as you know, in terms of how we move forward. But what's our current policy as it relates to the addition of bike infrastructure or pedestrian infrastructure when we redo a road?
So we're actually known, like through the state, of trying to get everything together at the same time. And, you know, people come and see what we do. We as you say, we try to integrate everything together, because you're exactly right. Doing it all at one time is way more effective than just breaking it up. So, you know, we look at our infrastructure, our water pipes, our drainage. We also reach out to the utilities, so they come through and do that, pole relocations. And then we have to look at, as you know, with the roads, what we can do. Some might be, you know, multi-use path, like we did up on Grove Street. Yeah. Other could be painting, you know, in the road, if it's wide enough, or could be signage. But we look at what we need to do at that time and what funding is available, because everything, as you saw, is just expensive. You know, the Grove Street's an awesome project, and we're already looking forward to go forward far ahead, how we're gonna get different funds through that, through development or other grants. But that's an expensive project. I think it came out awesome. We're seeing people use it all the time, and it's just, it's a wonderful, we wish we could do that everywhere.
Yeah.
But as you see, you know, I'll just put out there, people are not happy we don't put sidewalks somewhere, because we just get more use elsewhere. And that's a big global decision that we've been trying to do.
Yeah. And then I lose sight, green communities, is that your facilities or kind of both in terms of
Really more facilities for right now. There's an interaction between them. Certainly with DPW, we've done the EV charging stations down there. We've done a lot of that stuff, right, through a lot of grant work. You know, but generally speaking, I think most of our green communities work has been funneled through facilities for buildings, and then recently the EV charging. And obviously we've been we use some ARPA money and some grant money to get the low-hanging fruit for the automobiles. But at some point, I think, just for the record, we're on board with the sustainability director trying to do that, and I think the real power behind that position is really about just coordinating across departments. I think, you know, as we've talked about at budget meetings, you know, I think at some point that's going to be a hard thing to get into the budget soon, given the financial challenges we're seeing elsewhere. But I think that's where that position would come in handy down the line.
Yeah, yeah. Just grant funding, particularly around sustainability, partly through green communities, is at an all-time high right now, and so, you know, being able to take advantage of that would be helpful. did you have a
I just want to throw one other thing out there. I'm not sure if it's a green community thing, but I can tell you, in our water department over the years, we've gotten a lot of grants and for
energy upgrades.
and slow operating pumps, because they jam on. They take a lot more electricity one time, so the slower ones, we get a better rate and it saves us money. And Doug's done a lot of that.
Yeah, so most recently we got just over $60,000 to upgrade 2 of our pump stations on, sewer pump stations on Grove Street with new energy efficient motors, control systems, so that's been helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so thanks for the full presentation. I always appreciate you coming in because to me, this is the biggest existential crisis facing Franklin. We talk about sprawl, and I think often, I get eye rolls because it sounds like a lifestyle choice that I'm worried about. It's not. Suburban sprawl in the way that we do it as defined by the promise of urban amenities, water, sewer, roads, sidewalks, with low density, is financially unsustainable. And every community like ours is facing that, and it will only get worse. Our road quality is getting worse. So is all our neighbors, and the federal and state funds will only get smaller and smaller as they need to get spread across more communities. Our financial health is most going to be tied by our ability to keep up with infrastructure costs, and that means not building out excessive infrastructure in places where it's unsustainable, and it means increasing the tax base where we have robust infrastructure. These numbers scare me. I think they should scare everyone, and they should be a large part of, in addition to, the balance of growth and infrastructure build out. We just have a lot of ground to make up, and as we start to talk about an override again, education takes up a lot of air in that conversation, but these numbers touch everyone and the way that you interact with your community, and if things start to crumble, everything starts to crumble. We become less valuable, and it just gets harder and harder to chase. So I hope that these numbers, we don't just gloss over, that we take them seriously, and that we make difficult decisions as it comes to improving our financial situation in the long term. Thank you for this presentation.
Thank you, Cody. Councilor Cormier Ledger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, thank you guys for your presentation. I give you a lot of hard time about the sidewalks all the time, but I do appreciate it. And to Councilor Frangello's points, these are critical issues. These are why people buy homes and set up roots, right? They look at our school system, they look at our police, they look at our fire response, but then they look at things like, okay, how are my sidewalks in front of my house? How are the roads I'm gonna drive on? How's the drinking water? So these are basic things to most people that pay taxes, right? Most people that have a home, they have this sort of hierarchy of stuff. And it gets harder and harder to have these conversations with people to say there's no more money. There's no more money, there's no more money. I'm sorry that the sidewalk in front of your home is crumbling, which you've alluded to in your report and shared some of those things with me in my neighborhood particularly. The sidewalks are disgraceful. The roads, quite frankly, in many of our residential areas are disgraceful, and that's not your fault. It's just a lack of being able to keep up with them and keep up with these skyrocketing costs. When water pipes burst 3-4 times in a period, those residents don't care about excuses. They want their water turned back on, and they want it to be clean and drinkable. And, these just become sort of basic conversations that are getting harder and harder. To Kobe's point, I hope residents are listening and paying attention. because these are much bigger conversations, much bigger numbers than we're ever going to be able to tackle without additional funding. I drive around with my 82 and 80-year-old parents a lot in Franklin, right? And they come up to visit from Plymouth to see their grandkids. And my dad, who I can only equate to a modern-day Archie Bunker, it's really the only reference I can give you, just to paint a picture. He sits in the front seat with me and he says, "Jesus, Teddy, your roads suck." And then he says, "My God, Teddy, these sidewalks are terrible. My God, Teddy, why is my grandson having to pay $1,000 to play football at high school? But you have a beautiful house." And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, we got some challenges." "Yeah, but aren't you on that town council? Can't you fix this?" And he's not like this anomaly. He's what probably a lot of people would say in these kitchen conversations and coffee shop conversations. They look to us to fix it, and quite frankly, we can't. So I hope, and I share that example with him because I do often say to him, like, "Well, Dad, come to a meeting and, you know, I'll promise you'll have some laughs." He's not listening tonight. He's probably in bed. But anyway, to everybody out there listening, we are trying our best with these numbers and all of these projects, and we're chipping away at them as best we can, but we need everybody to also understand that these are complicated issues, and we just need more money, whether it be from federal, state, or increased local incomes. We have to be able to start chipping away at some of these bigger projects, or we're going to have a critical problem, right? Because any of these systems fail, and we are really screwed, right? I mean, we're kind of Band-Aiding from what you tell us all the time. You're holding everything together with Scotch tape and a prayer. Well, eventually those things are going to give way, and we're going to have a much, much bigger problem on our hands. So thank you for everything that you do. I don't mean to sound entirely negative. I do appreciate everything that you guys do and how hard you work to keep it all moving and to respond to the complaints and the emergencies that happen. I appreciate the Facebook responses because they're quick, right? People put that complaint on and you guys are immediately already working on it. I think that speaks volumes to your team, Brutus. So thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chan.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. My fellow councilors have talked about some of these mind-boggling numbers, so I just want to say a few nice things for once. I know. So I want to use Jamie's favorite line, that you guys touch everybody in this town. You know, you are the one department that every single thing, something that you do touches every person. So I want to thank your team right now, because Brutus, you always bring them, which we appreciate that they're all coming out. And I think the people in this town need to understand that they are getting the most out of the employees that we have, because you're down employees and things are getting done. I don't know how you're doing it, but it's obviously a attaboy to your whole team, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. They are excellent.
Yeah, no, they deserve that. They deserve a shout out. And what else was I gonna say? And lastly, I know you have your wish list, but my wish list is that you actually get a higher starting salary. I wish we could do that, so you could retain these people, so we could fill those jobs before, God forbid, budget season comes up again, and when they're not filled, you know what happens. So I don't know, I have no answers for the starting salary, but it's got to be one of our biggest things that we need to look at.
Thank you.
Those are the only nice things. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Councilor Chandler. Any other councilors? Councilor DeLarco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I feel like I was sitting there not too long ago, on the other side, brother, you know? So, yeah, matter of fact, just looked, I got an email, I got my cyclone's down, that rips up all the rubber on the runways, you know, from the tires. 3 months, and it's still in Germany. And it cost $800,000. So, you know what I mean? I know where you're going. The parts are really, really tough. I mean, thank God the state police getting rid of the hybrids and they're going back to gasoline. Thank God for that, because those hybrids are the biggest pieces of crap that walk. Ask any state trooper, he will tell you, they don't want them anymore. 3,000 miles on changing both batteries. 3,000 miles. It's crazy. But thank God they decided to go back. But the problem with the hiring thing that I see, like at Massport too, is years ago, the benefits were so good from a town, your health insurance, you know, that people would stay a little long, they take a little hit in the pocket because the benefits were so good. And we just can't sustain that anymore because health insurance is so expensive and stuff like that. And that's where I think we're losing a lot of people, unfortunately, because they can go to the private sector and they'll make, you know, maybe have a little less health insurance, but making more money. It's a big circle, but you guys do a great job. I know you guys are down men, and it takes time to train them. You want to train them your own way, you know, and it's tough, and then they go somewhere else. Nobody works 44 years in a place anymore. My father only worked one place, 44 years.
Or even 37.
Yeah.
In that place.
Yeah, or 37, just like that. Nobody does that anymore. So that's a challenge too. But you guys are doing a good job. I mean, your team is awesome. The roads, we do have bad roads, but drive an oil truck and go to surrounding towns, our roads aren't as bad as the surrounding towns. I'm telling you that right now. We do, we have bad roads, don't get me wrong, but there are some bad roads out there in other places, let me tell you. So, but you guys do a good job, and I feel your pain, let's just put it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Any other councilors? Councilor Sheridan.
So, just curious, what trucks are being replaced by electric? All of them?
No,
Which ones?
we had no intentions of buying electric ones.
Yeah.
But the way the state has, they passed a law, follow California.
Yeah.
That they're not meeting the criteria of selling enough electric vehicles, so until they meet that point, you can't buy a diesel truck.
Okay.
So you just cannot buy a diesel truck, and they haven't, it's starting a couple, like, you know, maybe municipalities can be extended and stuff like that, but I can tell you, I was talking to Jay, like, Mac has just got rid of all, they're not gonna sell them, and you can't buy a used one, you can't register, is basically what's happened. So I don't know what's gonna be, but one thing, it's gonna cost more money, I don't know how else to say it. We're gonna have some kind of truck sometime, but it's gonna just keep costing money.
If it's not electric, what would it be?
Go back to diesel.
Okay.
Or gas.
Gas, it'd be gas.
Okay.
Oh, these are big trucks mostly,
Yeah.
the big ones.
And just for the people at home, why is the quiet zone so expensive?
Mike? You ever deal with the railroad?
Yes.
So,
You are now.
the whole study that was done, we brought in a consultant, and we worked with the Federal Rail Authority, MBTA, Keolis, brought them all in order to upgrade each rail crossing, certain features have to be put in place. The gates have to be replaced. You need quadrant gates so people can't sneak around them. You need them on all four corners. Sometimes you need median islands. So they did an assessment of all the grade crossings and put some cost estimate together that the Federal Rail Authority actually reviewed, and basically it came out with the cost overall to replace everything and upgrade everything, $7.7 million.
Okay, so that basically if you're not blowing the horns, you have to have more equipment.
Gates, more control,
Okay.
so nobody
Okay.
can sneak through there at
Okay.
all.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Any other councilors? Anyone in council chambers, please come forward, name and address, go to the microphone, please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Councilors, good evening. Joel DeRico, 72 Deerview Way. Hello, Jamie and Amy. I've been thinking about the road issue for a little while, and his department is so strained that he's got so many categories that he has to take care of that the budget just doesn't reach what it is. And I explored the excise tax recipes in Massachusetts that's driven by the Department of Revenue. And Kerry, the treasurer, last year sent out 34,000 825 excise tax bills here in Franklin. And I see excise taxes that are from $75 to $1,000, and there's a sliding scale. Every year they drop. If you have a 5-year-old vehicle, it's 10% of the sticker price. And every year the vehicles get older because people are holding on to their cars. And if you see what their assessment is versus what you could sell it for as a used vehicle, it's really a day and night price. So I suggest to you something that Jamie and perhaps the chairman and Jeff Roy and Senator Roush could get involved with the legislature so that we could adjust our excise tax amounts. A $60 increase in all the excise tax bills would give him $2 million more a year, or it would give the town budget $2 million more a year. And over 10 years, that's $20 million. And that's if you did it 60. And that's a meal out for a husband and wife, $60. And it's half the price of a front-end alignment. So, so, you know, by maintaining, and I'm not saying the roads are bad, but he said tonight, Brutus said tonight, that he's not catching up. The roads are, and the vehicles are what's causing the wear, as you know. And some states, Pennsylvania, I believe, they have a wheel tax. People actually pay a tax to have better roads, and, you know, perhaps Brutus knows how they do it in other states. But I make this suggestion to you that you might have to have Jeff Roy get it anointed in town, and then if you folks could just change what you charge excise taxes. I mean, one of my vehicles is a Lincoln, and it's $200 a year, and it's, you know, I think it's a little low on the excise tax. And, you know, there are some vehicles that are $75. There's a Chevy SUV that I know that's a 2016, and I saw it online for $16,000, and the excise tax is less than the value is less than $3,000, and the excise tax is $75. So what I'm trying to explain is we're low, and I think we could go up just a little bit, not to gouge, but an extra $2 million a year would be more than what we get with Chapter 90.
Double.
Right. So that's what I'm bringing to you to think about.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Max? Name and address again, please.
Max Marangelo, 127 Central Park Terrace. I had a question through you, Mr. Chairman. In terms of the priorities of when you're sort of allocating the budget and what you focus on as a department, how, you know, where does safety lie? Where does aesthetics lie? Where does functionality lie? Any other priorities? Like, I personally believe that the DPW should prioritize safety. You know, if you have a pothole, if you drive on a street and you get in an accident, that's probably worse than just having a road that looks nice. Or if you have a common that has grass that's a little bit higher. Making sure you trim the trees so they don't fall on the power lines is pretty important, whereas, you know, trimming a tree to make sure it looks nice is different. So, like, in terms of safety and aesthetics, you know, if the DPW were to shift its focus towards safety more, what would that look like, and would it look any different than what we're doing now?
Jamie? I knew you'd love this one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Max, it's a phenomenal question, right? And we just reduced the DPW budget over the summer by $250,000, and in there was kind of a haircut on, you know, a dozen or so line items, including tree trimming. What you're saying is spot on. The more tree trimming you do, the less wires that go down in storms, the less power outages, right? We all know those trends. I think what it comes down to is about money, and I think, you know, and to answer, you know, Max's question a little bit more in detail, and I think earlier, Councilor Cormier-Ledger said kind of like, what are people looking for when they go into a community? You know, schools, public safety, response times, infrastructure, drinking water, all that stuff. That's true of every Massachusetts community. Everybody moves to every town for exactly those reasons. At the end of the day, you know, we have a state that's the highest median salary in the country, but we also have the most expensive state to live. And I think it's about dollars and cents. I think So in terms of Max's question, like, at a hierarchy, where are our priorities? I think like the school department, you know, and like everybody, you try to go to where most people are to try to get the best bang for your buck. And I think that's divvied up in the budget relative to roads, and then sidewalks gets far fewer dollars. Tree trimming gets far fewer dollars than that. Public safety in terms of pedestrian crossings, crosswalks, painting, far fewer dollars for that. So I think the DPW budget actually does represent where those priorities are in terms of that ladder. But obviously, the total amount of dollars that the DPW staff need to do where the expectations are in town is far lower. And I would make one last comment, Mr. Chairman. You know, these numbers up here are in 2023 numbers. Every year that this goes on, I'm starting to sound just like Jeff. Every year this goes on, add another 2.5% on top of that for regular inflation, right?
Yep.
I would also say on here, while this list was overwhelming for, I think, us on the staff, you know, this is, a lot of these projects are 10, 15, 20 years down the line. I mean, the quiet zones takes a very big investment and a concerted effort. The recycling center will be borrowing, stuff like that. And the last thing I'd say is, we do hear a lot about retention, and I think Councilor Frangillo mentioned this. He's right. We talk a lot about education, as we should be, because that's why people move here and that's our #1 priority. But I think an untold story is the story that Brutus told. A lot of our laborers come in for 2 or 3, 4 years. They love working here. We train them well. They get their licenses. But if you can't pay them, they're going to leave. It's just like a teacher, right? There's no blame here. It's just the straight up dynamics. And at the starting salary of a DPW worker, almost qualifies for state, you know, state nutrition and healthcare assistance. I mean, it's the same thing with our librarians, same thing with a lot of our staff. The starting salary is barely a livable wage, and I think, you know, I think about Stevie Carlucci and a lot of, you know, Dave Allard and the people, Tommy Gershon, people that worked here for 30, 35 years. When you retain people for that long, just like a teacher, just like a police officer, you actually have a huge cost efficiency in there. There's a reason why you pay people really well. They're gonna stay longer if they're happier. Those snow routes, the maintenance of the parks, everything we do, everything in water and sewer, stormwater, everything becomes a huge efficiency when people become so knowledgeable in that community of where that is. And I really hope at some point we can try to fix that problem, because there's no greater investment we can make than in the people that work for us, because those are the people that are doing the work, and those are the people that are going to do all this. And hopefully maybe some of those numbers are offset with the incredible talent that we have in our department. So I hope that answers a little bit of Max's question to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that has a question? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land that has a question? Want to go to B? B, street signs?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'll do that.
I got it.
Not
Thanks, guys.
really.
I gotta do them all,
Yeah.
and then,
Oh, really quickly, so just on the street signs, just so we're clear on the agenda, this was raised, I think, by a couple of councilors at one point. Councilor Sheridan brought it up. It was in response to a couple of requests I think some of you have gotten over time about street signs. Just so we're clear, this has nothing to do with signs on buildings. It doesn't have to do with signs on the interstates. This is just roadway signs. And really the question here is, does the town want to have a policy on this? We all get asked to put up customized signs in people's roads. The chief gets them, Brutus gets them, all of you get them, we get them. We know sometimes these things become tense because people want what they want. But as you're about to learn tonight, there are federal regulations around these issues, and there are enforcement issues around this. And I know Bruce has a short PowerPoint to offer everybody. But this was a request of the council, so we're trying to fill that gap. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You might know Chief Lynch. I asked him to actually come up and do this. I mean, this is one of those things that we kind of have what we've been doing, trying to follow the rules all along, but we don't have an official policy in the town. So I kind of just want to give you a background of signs, and we'll go through it and see what the questions are. This kind of fun fact for Franklin: signs everywhere, signs. Through our GIS department and stuff, when we did our roads thing, There are 2,907 street signs in town. And that's everything from a, end of a roadway to, speed limit signs, whatever it is, 2,900. I estimate that value about almost $1 million of the signs that we've had out there through the years. And that value is based upon, obviously, the materials that go into it, the post, making the sign. We're actually one of the few communities that we still make our own signs. It was here when I got here, and it's actually very cost effective. I've had 3 different guys that do it. We own the software. We save a ton of money doing it. So I still see value. That's one of the ones I see value, definitely doing in-house. We have a great guy that's doing it. So it's about $330 a sign, give or take. Some are more, some are less. But that's just to give you a value of it. So there's a sign policy out there. It's not us. And the federal standards for signs, the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, called the MUTCD. And there's a link for that. That tells you, in the whole country, how you're supposed to use signs. Okay? Where they're supposed to be, the distance, the colors, everything, what type of sign you're supposed to use. We also have here in Franklin, we have a Town of Franklin sign request that goes through the Town Administrator's office. Basically what that does is the Town Administrator receives it, looks at it, there's no fee to this. Typically what happens, depending on the type of sign request, the police department looks at it first, okay? A lot of times it's like another stop sign or another, there's a lot of accidents in the area, so they'll look at that type of thing that goes along with it. Then we take a look at it. We make sure that what's being requested meets the standards. So basically, there's like 2 types of signs out there. They're enforceable signs, and I just put some examples: stop, handicap, speeding, school zones, littering signs. These are signs that at the state level tells you I can give a ticket for speeding. Okay, at the local level, we have like handicap parking. It's $150. That's what our bylaw says. So we can go ahead, and that's enforceable. The other ones are informational signs. Obviously, name of a street, a directional, could be a hill, a curve, a blind drive. Not necessarily enforceable with a fine, but it's more just to give you information what's going on. Street sign policy. Now, I typically don't read, but I want to make sure people understand this. So, the sign that I chose is slow children at play. This is not a recognized sign by the federal government, okay? And they're everywhere, okay? But they're not recognized. And the reason is obviously a false sense of security. The Institute of Transportation Engineers states caution children sign at play or slow children sign should not be used since they may encourage children to play in the street and may encourage parents to feel less vigilant. Children at play signs give parents a false sense of security in letting their children play in the road, okay? Liability. The children at play sign is not a federal standard, MTC. When you install signs that do not conform to MTC, the town, you may be creating liability for your community. Rarely effective solution. The National Cooperation of Highway Research Program conducted a study of pedestrian accidents and found that 80% of collisions involving children resulted from an unsafe or an illegal act by the child. The sign does not reduce the speed or of traffic or makes drivers more vigilant. Guidance. Children at play. It really doesn't provide any guidance to what motorists should do out there. You might think on yourself, gee, I should slow down, but it doesn't say what you should actually do, okay? And then oversigns. This is a problem that we deal with all the time. If you place a child at play sign on a couple of blocks in your community, drivers may think the roads without the sign are children-free zones. Motorists need to expect children at play in all residential areas. As stated in MUTCD, the use of warning signs should be kept to a minimum as necessary. Of warning signs tend to breed disrespect of all signs out there. So this is kind of what we've been doing. I'm just telling you, my department. If the signs are out there, and a lot of these different signs, like I'll just say the slow children signs, if they're out there, we're not taking them down. But if they fail, they delaminate or something like that, we're not necessarily putting them back up either, okay? So that's kind of where we're at. So what I've kind of asked for is this street sign policy. And this is where, I worked with town administration, and chief, we talked about this. So in order for the town of Franklin to be compliant with federal guidelines regarding the use of traffic signs on public right-of-way, the following procedure will be followed. Only signs recognized and approved by the Federal Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices will be installed. Existing signs that are not recognized by MDC will be removed at the discretion of Public Works Director and/or the police chief. The request for all new signs will be made through the town administrator's sign permit process. This policy is being implemented to protect the town of Franklin's residents. The MUTC overview on the Federal Department of Transportation DOC website states among several key points, the MUTCD is the law governing all traffic control devices. Non-compliance of the MUTC ultimately can result in a loss of federal aid funds as significant increase of tort liability. Consistent with this, Mass DOT conducts a survey of our town roads and finds such signs present, they too recommend their removal. The town does not wish to install signs that are not federally recognized for the following reasons. They provide a false sense of security, there is no enforcement mechanism, they pose a potential for liability as the signs are not MUTC standard. They increase over signs, which breeds disrespect for all signs. So that's kind of what I have on this. And on a personal note, my job is very difficult as the chief jobs and the town administrator jobs. We're probably 3 folks in town that have to say no a lot. And a lot of times very personal. And this, signs are tough. And, because people have the best intentions with this. But I think as we know, we still have to look out for everybody in town, and we have to look out at the town as a whole. So that's why I'm asking you to consider this, and the chief wants to add anything.
No, I think if you want to be able to, if you're gonna have a program and you're gonna be unbiased and you're gonna basically end up going, then I think it's great that that the federal government has that standard already in place. There's no reason that we shouldn't end up, following to guide us in making some of these decisions as to when it's appropriate or not.
Thank you, Chief. Questions? Councilor Sheridan.
So the deer crossing signs, they won't be replaced?
There is the deer, I asked Mike what there is.
He's already
right.
So in the MUTCD deer crossing signs, it is a legitimate warning sign that they do recognize. And we had a request not that long ago, and we looked at it, and basically we worked with the police department to find out how many recorded accidents there were in that stretch of Lincoln Street, and we determined the proper spacing for those signs based on the information that was available. But that is a recognized practice.
Do other towns have a similar policy where they just don't put up any child play signs, or?
I honestly think it's a free-for-all out there, and, until it comes to a political point about signs. I haven't seen other policies. Most towns, if you always ask, they follow the MUTCD guidelines. But does that mean another specialized sign's not put up?
Are you aware of towns have lost their federal funding because they put up a?
I don't think, I have not, when you say federal funding, it might be if we put a sign up that was part of, say, the Chapter 90 program or
Right.
something like that, and they did an audit, they might not pay for that sign. It's not like we're gonna lose all our money. No, I have not. I cannot tell you that they've out inspecting and doing stuff.
Or any town that's been sued because a kid got hit near a child play sign?
I am not an expert on that. I don't know if Mark knows of anything.
Thank you.
Attorney Sorrell.
There's numerous defenses in a particular Massachusetts law that would become applicable.
How's that, Patrick?
I just want to say, I think if we put up signs for deer, if we can put up signs for autistic children, if it's needed. I think so. I mean, my brother's autistic, and if we put up signs for animals, which we should, if there's a mute autistic child, I think we can put the sign up too, if the family requests it, and have a limit. And by the time the sign's faded, the child will probably be gone, grown up, so it won't be needed, and then it can be taken down. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Frangillo, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you for this presentation. So, this is something that I feel, fairly strongly about, from a sense of, signs are the lowest form of street safety. They are Band-Aids. They often do more harm than good because they give people a false sense of security. I am in favor of these policies, with a sense that there are much higher forms of street safety, be them chicanes and medians and road width and street trees and a whole bunch of ways that are proven to be effective traffic calming measures in areas where we need people to be paying attention to potential things in the roadway. So yeah, in favor of a street sign policy that's more limited, as long as it's coming with an increased commitment to the street safety through other forms of street design. My only question was things like, you know, bikes need 4 feet to apart or something, where it's information about a new law around street safety. That feels like something that's not, that wouldn't be in the federal standards, but still like is an information technique, you know, it's important for that piece. I don't know where that falls within the proposed policy, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we'd have to see the sign that wants to be put out there is an informational. We have put them out there, and then there is leeway in.
Sure. And in addition to the federal, I mean, TCD, the state of Massachusetts through MassDOT, they have the amendments to the MUTCD that we follow to, and sometimes they'll put all stuff. I mean, so the federal guidebook doesn't recognize rotaries at all, but the Massachusetts amendments do, because we're one of the few places where you'll have that. So I think a lot of that stuff with the shared use lanes and the 4-foot separation, a lot of that came down through Mass DOT, and then obviously we'll be following along with their guidelines.
Cool, that's helpful, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through the chair. I was gonna ask the question about other signs that I see in other towns and give cyclists 4 feet is one of the things I see. I like the idea of having a policy, and maybe with the Massachusetts amendments would be good. I was wondering, like, I see things, like a turtle crossing sign. Like, is that in the is that like a real, is that a federal sign, is that a mass sign, or is that,
Reduce salt.
reduced salt, like there's a reduced salt area, like things like that, right?
I believe the reduced salt is, I think I did see that in Massachusetts, man. It's a turtle one, maybe not, I'd have to go back and check.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe not.
It's, the turtle one, I can't understand it because it's not gonna cause an issue to the vehicle. The deer one, as an avid deer hunter for the past 35 years, deer will cross in the same place historically year after year after year. It's a high, you're putting a sign there.
I'm just joking, I'm just joking.
It's a high hit area.
It's a good one.
And they're basically telling you that it's a high hit area so that you'll pay more attention, especially in November when they're breeding, because that's when they're gonna run around and they're gonna run into the middle of the road, right? And when that car hits that deer, it's gonna cause some significant damage and possibly injure the person. So I think there's a little difference as far as the turtle goes. Yeah, I don't wanna see turtles getting hit either, but it's not gonna probably hurt a human being, you know, if you run over a turtle. But the deer strikes, I mean, there's moose crossings in Maine signs all the time, and without them, you will get killed. You will.
Yeah. Okay, all right, thank you.
No, I'm just.
Thank you, Councilor
No, I
Hamlin.
know, no, totally great.
Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're touching on all the great stuff tonight. I love it. I love these meetings, and thank God we protect the turtles. But obviously the deer crossing signs are for safety with cars, not so much to tell people not to hit a deer. But I have to agree with Councilor Sheridan that there will need to be exceptions, and I'm glad we have a form, because there are children in our community with special needs, and the parents are at the end of their rope with what to do. I have an autistic son too. Happily, he is high functioning, so my concern about him bolting across the road is maybe not as much as a parent with a low functioning autistic child. But I had that concern when he was a baby. He bolted all the time into the roads and broke away from my hand. And it's very frightening as a parent, and I don't know that a sign is necessarily going to make a car slow down. I would hope that a sign is going to at least make somebody aware that, oh geez, maybe I should just be cognizant of the fact that there's somebody living here with some challenges. And I think at bare minimum, it does give a parent a little bit of solace, a little bit of relief, a little bit of, okay, somebody listened to something, because you get, if you don't have children with special needs, you can't, I suppose, relate, but you just get incredibly frustrated all of the time and exhausted all of the time. And you're banging your head on every wall and just hoping somebody will listen. So to the woman that came in with the autistic child that sort of sparked all of this with asking for the special sign, I hope that we keep her in mind, and I hope that we are able to do something. And maybe to Councilor Frangilla's point, maybe there are other things other than signs that we could do to help slow the traffic down in her particular area, so she would feel a little bit relieved if her son does break away from her hand. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Cornwall-Adjei. Councilor Chandler?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. We're just discussing this tonight. We're not voting on it. Yeah, okay, because there was no link to what the federal signs would be.
If the feeling from the council would be to look into a sign policy, then we would ask the administration to put together a policy for us to discuss, then contemplate enacting.
Okay, because I'm having a little trouble with the autistic signs too, because just so you know, that woman did get 2 signs. And I want to read something that she wrote back to me. The autism signs have been great. So far, no issues. People, both drivers and pedestrians, have been respectful and responsive. So she's had a very good experience. And I know she came here, and I'm glad that as a council and as a town, we were able to help her out. And Amy, speaking of shout-outs tonight, Amy did a lot of work on that. And Brutus helped her too, so I appreciate both of you. So it did get done, and as you said, she feels better about it, and hopefully it is helping. So I just wanted to, there are some special circumstances, so I need to think about this a little more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Plagree?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I was very happy to see that you brought up about the autistic children. This is something I had brought up a long time ago, and even took pictures, because in Bellingham, they do have autistic, signs up. So if you had questions on anything like that, you could get in touch with the DPW director or whomever is in charge of it in Bellingham.
I did.
I have a picture of it on my phone, too.
Oh, no, I knew about
I think
that.
I sent it to you.
No, I know, I knew about that sign, and I did call them up, and
Good.
they didn't know who put it up.
They what?
They didn't know who put it up, or
Oh, they hadn't put it up?
they had no recollection, they couldn't find anything about putting it up. When I
Well,
called
there
them.
are other signs also, and you see the blind children or that. I mean, are those signs that are going to be in a certain category under the sign, street sign policy? You know, and I think if we have a little bit more time, we're gonna think of some others
Sure,
too.
and I please, I'm asking for guidance from you, because I want to do the right thing. And it just, we've been going along here, and it is very emotional. And, when I dealt with Kelly, and it is. And, we really want to do the right thing. But we get a lot of different things. We've had people call for dementia signs, for someone in the neighborhood. And I guess, and please understand when I say this, you go back and look at that, if there's someone that has dementia, autistic, blind, part of what we need to do is give them guidance what they're supposed to do. And just saying that doesn't necessarily mean that. Like, person with dementia, I don't, I dealt with my mother, and she would wander, so, but it's a very emotional thing, because, like I said, when I started this, it's a passion. People care, and we all care, and we all want to do the right thing, but we have to make sure we do the right thing the right way, and that's kind of what I'm asking you folks. So,
That's why I'm very happy that this came forward. We'll think about it.
Sure.
we'll
And I really
bring it back
appreciate that.
and come up with a good street sign policy.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor DeRocco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to you. Yeah, I agree, I gotta think about this a little bit more because of that. You know, coming from a person that does drive an oil truck, if I do see a sign that says autism, which I have in Bellingham,
Yeah.
autistic, and I have that in my family, I have three of my, I have a nephew and two cousins, so I know what they deal with, but, you know, I immediately take my foot off the gas, put my foot on the brake, kinda go slow, kinda make sure that everything's all right, so it does work, so, but I do wanna think about this a little bit more to see what's going on, so maybe I can give you some, you know, figure out what's going on, you know.
Thank you, Councilor DeRocco. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think the signs matter because too many people are on their cell phones looking down anyways. No one's even looking at them, it seems these days. But in all honesty, I think following a federal guideline is probably a logical step. It only makes sense to have something that's recognized, and I think having and providing some kind of uniformity is going to be a good thing. I think it can't hurt. You know, as a person who teaches code, it's always good to have everyone on the same playing field. You know, and I can understand Massachusetts with the rotaries and the other signage that would be necessary for that. But for the most part, like for instance, just a question you, Brutus, what's the frequency that you, as the DPW, go around and make certain that signs aren't missing, that things need to be replaced, and what's the frequency of checking? I know there's a lot. You said almost 2,700 signs in town, 2,900 signs in town.
Probably more.
Probably more. What's the frequency? Or do you just get a phone call and say, hey, there's a no parking sign missing on my street, or somebody stole my one-way sign, or something like that?
A lot of it's that way, yes, and then people call they're damaged, a lot of traffic accidents, and then we did the inventory when we went out there. They, obviously, like the big ones, like stop signs, when they, you know, they fade. You know, and it's amazing when it faces south will wear out, you know, exponentially quicker than ones facing north. So, you know, we have to do that, and that's where it gets like into safety that Mark will talk about, make sure those are all working. So when we have a craftsman, we call it, level person, that's our sign guy, and that's pretty much, you know, we go out when we can. And that's the other thing, you know, you didn't get into is like, it kind of was the maintenance of the signs.
Right.
And it's not just the sign, it's the vegetation that grows up around them. You know, we recently just got a very concerned resident about over on Miller Street, was this new school drop-off. So she wants more signs out there. We looked at it, maybe cut some vegetation back. We always identified this as already a difficult corner over there. We'd already installed a solar flashing arrow.
Right. Yes.
But, you know, do we put the signs out there? And then we looked into it, and even, it's kind of, I had Mike look into it. So there is a sign that says, you know, school drop-off, that's federally recognized. But if they change it, you have to take the sign down. And if it's not being used in the summer, you're supposed to cover it. I mean, it's just, so maybe we're looking at alternates, and we might be able to do that, you know, to get, to slow folks down in that corner.
Makes sense.
One thing was interesting that I did learn, because I was going through all this, big things they recommend, instead of doing all these different types of warning signs, really what people really pay attention to is the speed on the road. So they talk about, make sure you have the correct speed limit signs going along, and basically, they say every minute of travel. So, you know, if you're going down Lincoln Street, no, I shouldn't say Lincoln Street, but yeah, but you're doing 40 in section or 35, you're moving a lot quicker, so that it goes down. But if you're on a side street, you might want to have them a little closer together and then farther away. So that made sense to me. And then I can tell you, my experience, everybody tell you, the way to slow people down is the narrow road. You know, it really is. A narrow road slows people down. You make the road wider, people are gonna go faster, and that's in subdivisions. I can tell you that, you know, we put the islands over on Lincoln Street, you know, by the school. That slows people down. It really does. I don't know how else we could, but that really slows people down through there. So, and then we did them in front of the high school. So the islands work, the road narrowings that we do, you know, we talk about subdivisions. The perfect example, we talked about Skyline Drive, remember that? It was like 60 feet wide.
It's huge.
We got letters of thank you. First was like, we said we're gonna reduce your road, and we use it for different reasons, you know, obviously cost, because we can spend the money elsewhere. But people came back and said, oh my God, people slow down now, because the road is narrow, it's not a freeway. So that's what really works.
So, while
But
I
it's
have-
expensive.
Brutus, while I have you, the chief, and I think the building commissioner, what's our policy on line of sight as far as vegetation on corners and stuff like that? Because I've noticed quite a few corners.
One
that-
job I am not is
that-
fence
that-
viewer.
That for all intents and
Gus.
purposes, you can't
Fence
even
viewer.
see around the corner. It's a major.
Fence viewer.
There are several locations that are major blind.
The brush, that's what we get them on.
Sightlines.
Yes.
Sightlines, yes.
Corner lots.
Corner lots and lots that have overgrown vegetation that are potentially interfering with public ways as well as line of sights. What's our policy on that?
Policy is it needs to be 3 feet below the crown of the road, 20 feet back, 20 feet from each corner.
So 3 feet up?
3 feet high. 3 feet in accordance to the crown of the road, no higher than that. And then 20 feet back, or if you want to put a fence up, it's got to be 20 feet back from the corner and 25 feet away from the corner as well. We get a lot of people that call us about fencing, and that's the rule. But the shrubs are a real problem because they're on a lot of corner lots, and we're always after everyone to trim them.
Do we fine people or do something to at least notify them that this is?
We try to eliminate that as much as possible. I stay on them, but it's a difficult road. And then they grow back, and we're back to the same situation we're in.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Gus. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jim, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other questions? Max, please, name and address, please.
Mr. Chairman, Max Marangelo, 127 Central Park Terrace. I brought my punch card for you today. I just have a few signs I wanted to show you from the standards. There's this one. I don't know if the cameraman can zoom in the back room there, if you can see it. Is it too blurry?
Kids on a seesaw.
Those seesaws are, don't
It's a playground sign. So it's not good for people that play, but there is a thing for people who are in a playground. And the other one, this is more relevant to me personally. I mean, this is the handicap crossing. And I think what's interesting about sort of handicap and disabled is not everyone who's disabled looks like this. And so I think the standards are sort of a little out of date. And so I think maybe, I think the standards are a guide and they're a reference, but I don't think the standards were originally meant to be a floor or a ceiling as to what you can do. I don't think they were originally meant to prevent towns from, in their municipality, I mean, it could be wrong, but is it meant to be prohibit, when these standards were implemented, was it meant to prohibit towns from doing anything else? Or is it something that towns can do? Yeah, thank you.
It was
Attorney Sorrell.
As it says in the title, it was intended to impose uniformity, so that people traveling, wherever you were, it would be the same, you would understand.
Thank you. Okay, based upon what I've heard this evening, I think the thought process is we'd like to come up with some sort of policy, maybe with some amendments thrown in. So maybe, and I know we have a lot on the next few agendas, but if we could line this up where we might get the administration to work on a policy that may not be quite as stringent as what the federal guidelines are, but using that as a starting point and then working from there, maybe coming back to us as a discussion item before we come back as a bylaw.
Yep, happy to do that, absolutely. I think there's one comment in Zoom land.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think they just raised their hand anyway, so.
Mark.
Amy's letting him in right now.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. This is Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive. I just wanted to maybe make the comment / ask the question about, will the policy also apply to electronic signs? You know, the one type of sign that I think is most effective at slowing people down are these signs that have the radar speed detection built into them. You know, it flashes when you're going too fast, and it gives you a nice green thumbs up or whatever when you're traveling under the speed limit. I think those are very effective if a town has problem areas. And I'm just kind of curious that the sign policy would include and encompass that type of sign as well, if we were ever wanting to incorporate one.
I think, Mark, with that, as we develop a policy and as we have future discussion about it, those are some of the discussions that we'll have, and might be a better time to bring that up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions? Brutus and team.
Thank you.
For both presentations. Thank you and your staff. The numbers on the infrastructure are
Overwhelming.
mind-blowing. And I know we talked about it last week. We talked about the numbers and how scary they are. And it's a point Councilor Frangillo has brought up on many occasions. You know, our need for help with our infrastructure, regardless of, you know, where we find those extra dollars. But a lot of work went into that presentation. Thank you very much for that. And as far as the street sign policy, you'll be back again.
Well, honestly, thank you. Thank you for the council, and thank you for, you know, recognizing what, you know, the public works do. And it's, you know, one of the things.
Great staff.
We do. And it's not, you know, I have all the pretty faces here, but we have a lot of people down the garage that really did do all the work and, you know, work for this town. I'm very happy for this town. There's one caveat I would tell you just about personnel. It's, we've had a lot of people, quite a few, it never used to happen, they've left and they've come back because they realize it's a good town to work for, and it's a better public work. So they have seen that, and that's I think that, you know, the superintendents and I take a lot of pride when that happens. So yeah, so, but thank you very much for your time, and obviously the street sign policy really helped me out personally. So thank you.
Understood.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, moving on. Legislation for action. Resolution 24-57. Town Council's support of pending state legislation entitled An Act to Modernize Funding for Community Media Program. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-57, Town Council support for pending state legislation entitled An Act to Modernize Funding for Community Media Programming. Whereas the Massachusetts State Legislature has pending before it Senate Bill 2771 and House Bill 4631 entitled An Act to Modernize Funding for Community Media Programming, and whereas on behalf of Franklin Community TV and Radio, the members of Franklin Town Council have examined the proposed legislation and believe that the provisions of the proposed legislation to be in the public's interest and to support and protect valuable local community resources in the town of Franklin. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin hereby adopts this resolution, evidencing its support for an act to modernize funding for community media programming, and direct the town administrator to prepare and transmit a letter together with a copy of this resolution to the Massachusetts State Legislature, communicating the Franklin Town Council's support for the pending legislation. This resolution should become effective according to the visions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-57.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie.
The request of the council from the last meeting, legislation, or a letter supporting that legislation. And thank you to Amy for drafting all that, and we're ready to go.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Jones.
Thank you. This came up last meeting. That's all.
Yeah.
Just thank you.
Okay, Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve resolution 24-57. The majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 24-58, Chapter 61B, first refusal option, property located in Franklin off of Maple Street, property owner Maplegate Realty Trust. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-58, Mass General Law, Chapter 61B, declination of first refusal option, property located in Franklin off of Maple Street, property owner is Maplegate Realty Trust. Whereas the town of Franklin has been notified on August 8th, 2024, of an intent to sell parcels of land in Franklin off Maple Street, Bellingham, currently classified as Chapter 61B, Section 9, recreation land. And whereas the town has 120 days to exercise its first refusal option to meet a bona fide offer to purchase this land, and whereas the town council, after consideration, does not wish to exercise said option to acquire this land. Be resolved that the town of Franklin, acting by and through the town council, and pursuant to Section 9, Mass General Law, Chapter 61B, hereby declares that it will not exercise the first refusal option on the parcels of land located in Franklin and identified with the town of Franklin's Board of Assessors as follows. 1, 160 Maple Street, parcel ID number 237-036, 0000000, containing 19.41 acres, plus or minus. 2, 0 Maplegate, parcel ID 239-009, 0000000, containing 3.4 acres, plus or minus. Again, line 3, 0 Maplegate, parcel ID 239-010, 0000000, containing 83.30 acres, plus or minus. Line 4, 0 Mine Brook, parcel ID number 239012, 0000000, containing 10.70 acres, plus or minus. Line 5, 0 Maplegate, parcel ID 254-009, 0000000, containing 16.84 acres, plus or minus. And 6, 0 Maplegate, parcel ID number 255-001, 0000000, containing 2.3 acres, plus or minus. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-58.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. For those who don't know, this is Maplegate Country Club. Golf course. Jamie.
Yep. Through Mr. Chairman, Peter's been with us, the attorney for them, for a few hours. He's earning his billable hours tonight, but he learned everything he wants to know about infrastructure in the town of Franklin, as well as street signs. This is the vote that will decline the right of first refusal and allow the project to move forward as we articulated in the packet. Sadly, we can't buy them all. This one's almost $2 million a year for 20 years. And I think at the last meeting, it was pretty clear the consensus from the council was to decline the right of first refusal. So that's what the legislation means. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything to add?
No, I'll just, I want to congratulate the town council and town administration on a wonderful ceremony I saw earlier this evening. I represent a lot of communities, I do a lot of these meetings, and that was heartfelt and a wonderful service that's been given to this community and that you gave to that officer. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Councilor Frangillo.
I would just point out, one of the other things that I do pay attention to when, deciding whether to exercise our right of first refusal, is related to the infrastructure. Is this going to further build out our infrastructure liabilities, with more roads, sewers, and in a way that's unsustainable? And this doesn't, right? This is tax revenue without further infrastructure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Win-win.
The other piece of this is really.
Win-win.
You can't get to the Franklin pieces or parcels without going through Bellingham to get there.
Drive on their roads and whatever.
Or swim across.
Or swim across. Or wade across, I should say. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a quick comment that it's awfully nice to see an attorney sitting there that we don't have to argue with. So, thank you for coming to our meetings and being so pleasant, which is very much appreciated.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier. Any other councilors? Councilor Jones.
Just a comment, the solar project, once this has been finalized, when's the plans to start that project? I have to ask as an electrician and union member.
Sure. So once we're finished here, then we do the 61B, and we do the 61B declination in Bellingham, and then they're gonna close, and their intention is to start right away.
Great, because I've got plenty of apprentices that are more than willing to come out and help us.
I'd be happy to
And
connect you.
Bellingham's in our jurisdiction.
I'd be happy to connect you with the representative that's going to be overseeing the project. He's been here many times before the planning board and has become familiar with the town engineer and the representatives.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to get some more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-58. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're very welcome. Thank you for
Take care.
your
Appreciate it.
patience. Okay, moving on, bylaw amendment 24-914. A bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin at Chapter 82, fees, municipal service. This is the first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the bylaw amendment 24-914, Chapter 82, fees, municipal service.
Motion to waive the reading?
Second. Second.
Motion and second to waive the reading. All those in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Maybe we
Move.
can get a back.
Bylaw amendment 24-14. 914. What did I say?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Second reading.
To the second reading.
To a second reading.
Second, to the second reading.
Okay. Jamie,
Yeah, so
quick summary.
I'll give you a couple highlights real quick. I think the one, so this is obviously a bylaw rewrite, as the memo says, is the first time. This was actually one of my first projects here 9 years ago. And we know that some of the departments, like the fire department and others, have needed to stay on top of those fees, and they come in on an annual basis and do that. The first thing I would just say is these updates reflect increases, decreases, additions, deletions, and corrections due to the changes in state law or state code, particularly the fire department and the building department. But it also tries to accommodate, like the school committee did earlier this year, to make sure that the cost for service, that we're getting paid for the full cost of delivering the service, right? And to make sure that with wages going up or other things with inflation, that we're making sure we get that. I want to make sure this is clear on the record. It's in my memo. This is not a way to raise money. What this does do, though, is offset the costs in all of our departments. So one of the things that's come up over time is, you know, people don't think of it this way, and I understand why. Even my salary is offset. Amy's salary, Mark's salary, almost all of our municipal officials, the town clerk, all of their salaries are offset by a percentage based on the amount of money that we bring in via fees and via those services. Most of the stuff we do is required by state law or state code in some sort of way, if not the vast majority of this. Couple highlights really quick. The big one I think that folks will really be amenable to is the Community Assistance Program, which is the first section, which provides financial relief to residents that hit those low-income marks. As folks may know, but just to reiterate, we use the metric under the federal government for home heating assistance. That's the metric a lot of communities use. We are proposing to increase that from a 20% credit on water, sewer, and trash bills to a 50% credit. Our staff down there, I know Kathy left and Roseanne, but they do a fantastic job. They know those customers. They reach out to them every year. Our staff build relationships with those folks. and we try to encourage all of those folks that come in that meet those criteria to take advantage of all of the offerings that are in here and to make sure we educate people. If they need an ambulance, for example, you don't get that rate discount right away. If you use it though, we make sure we educate people that there's a financial hardship provision. So a 20% increase to a 50% is fairly substantial. And I think that that's something that the community can certainly more than afford. Another one in here that's a highlight is the senior center. We included in here just a sample menu, the proposal in here, as we really have never had the fluidity in the bylaw to change a $2 meal to $2.50 and stuff like that. Like we did with the recreation department several years ago. Those fees will be set in this proposal by the town administrator, working obviously with the senior center director. It's right there. We're not trying to play any funny business. There's not like this fees are gonna go up, but sometimes the cost of an instructor might go up $5 and we have to charge an extra 25 cents. Also, the inverse happens. Ryan does a great job of this, and also Sarah. If the costs go down, we drop that rate of whatever that program is. Also, there's a lot of charitable opportunities as well. You can look through the entire long list. Another bit of good news is I just want to send a huge shout out to Julie McCann and Jared in our office, who Julie really led all of this project. She went out and did market analyses on liquor licensing and some of the more, the ones that are a little bit more challenging for some of our small businesses. We are not proposing any changes to those fees. We are smack dab smart. We are right on target. Some communities were way larger. Some communities were way lower. We were pretty much right in the middle, which is where we want to be, so we're not proposing any substantial fee increases to those. You will see a lot of red lines in here. And I give the fire department a lot of credit, the building department a lot of the DPW. We're also consolidating fees in a lot of places. We're getting rid of a lot of red tape in here, and we're getting rid of a lot of stuff that doesn't even exist in state law or state code anymore. You will notice on the fire department, there's a list of like all sorts of new fees for $50. A lot of those we don't even have transactions, but those are required now by the state fire code. So we have to have those in there, and I give Joe a tremendous amount of credit for going through all of that work to propose all of these. And we're just putting in $50 for those numbers, because that's basically if somebody came in for that license or that permit, that's basically what the cost of doing business to process that would be. For the 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour for that inspection. There's obviously some small tweaks in here, an extra $10 for a certified list of abutters. If any of the councils have any questions, most of the department heads are here tonight. I'm not gonna go through the entire list, Mr. Chairman, but in here I think is a pretty good summary, and the good news is this bylaw will be a lot shorter than it used to be. Where we're getting rid of a lot of categories and just doing a simple one-time fee for something for $100, $50. It doesn't matter the quantity of hazardous material you have. It still just requires the fire chief or a designee to go down and check it, whether it's 10,000 gallons or whether it's 5 gallons. You still have to send the person out. And so we are trying to really reduce a lot of that confusion in here and just really simplify the bylaw quite a deal. As I scan through it, those are the big highlights. Happy to answer any questions that folks may have.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Plagley.
Question through you, Mr. Chairman. I see taxi, limousine, livery. We don't have to do anything with Uber drivers, do we?
No, through Mr. Chairman, the issue here is about couriers that go to Logan Airport. So through Massport, I don't know if anybody knows anything about Massport, you actually have to have a license through Massport to have an SUV to do a delivery, to pick somebody up or drop somebody off as an airport shuttle on a private vehicle. And so there's technically a letter that we have to validate through Massport that person has the excise tax, they paid their bills. So that's actually the issue. The issue with Ubers and Lyfts is not relevant to anything in this bylaw. That's a separate state law and a whole different, just a whole different beast.
Thank you, Councilor Plagley. Any other questions from council? Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, thank you. There's just so much, and so a few as I went through were catching my eye. Recycling fee was removed. This is on page, where was that? Recycling permit on page, oh, why does it say pages? I don't know page numbers. Under G.
Yep. Oh, L, G.
Under G.
The recycling center?
I don't know. I don't know what it
It's
is.
a recycling permit. It's where the retail food establishment and the septic hauler, right between those.
Yeah, yeah. I just couldn't tell what that was. I didn't know what that was. And maybe you don't, maybe that's just,
Health.
Oh, under the Board of Health?
Yeah.
Kathy, I know you're on Zoom. Is there something relative to the septic hauler question?
recycling permit?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
Kathy, how are you?
Hi, good evening. So the recycling permit, since I've been here, let me back up through the chair. Since I've been here 5 years, we have never even had a request for a recycling permit. I don't know what it was used for in the past, so I decided to eliminate it because, obviously in 5 years, we've never given one out, and we don't have an application for it as well.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Kathy.
While, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
While you're there, one that has come up before is food trucks, which I believe we have at 100. And I know that we've gone back and forth. Some communities don't do because, essentially, if you come to town for a day, $100 might actually eat into your profit a notable amount if you come to one farmer's market. Did we end up going back and looking into that and comparing it to other communities?
Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we didn't, but what we did do is eliminate the additional red tape in our office. So if you go up to the administration, in order to originally get food trucks approved by councils, maybe three, four councils ago, I think it was actually before you may have been on the board, there was some additional permit. I would note that mobile food vehicle permit for $100 is for a whole year. So a lot of the food trucks, I think, do come multiple events. And, right, so it's good for an entire year. And the good thing that Kathy and the staff do downstairs is they don't make it like if you get it in November, it doesn't expire right away. They try to keep it for an entire calendar year, depending on when those events are. And so I think the inspection is generally around 30 to 45 minutes as well. Kathy, I don't know if you did any market analysis to see other comparables, but my guess is because it was still at $100 and there was no change, that was close to the going rate. Do you have any feedback on that, Kathy?
Yes, absolutely. It's the going rate, and I think for a year, it's appropriate, where a temporary food establishment is $50, right? So I think that it's a bargain, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. The other was the idea of a practice where, if there's certain other communities, because they get inspected in every community. So if there's a certain number of other communities that would allow us to not have to inspect.
Well,
Regionalization.
Sure.
Well, you just
No,
took
we
that right.
have to.
That's
Right.
true. I mean, we are in a regional agreement with Rentham and Norfolk, and we could ask Kathy at least to work on that issue with those other communities if they're doing food truck things too.
Yeah.
And maybe there could be
Yes.
some sort of partnering on it.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Sounds good. It's a good idea.
Okay, library. All right, are we done with library late fees? Is that just an outdated policy shown not to work? Is that what's happening here?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Do you ever get a late fee that's zero?
I return on time.
Oh.
I don't, but I think I return on time because I'm at least aware of a late fee, but maybe not. Okay, well, it's just outdated.
Outdated.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
Cool.
Outdated.
That's a good thing for me, because I'm also.
But I like that we have the museum passes because that's probably what I use the most, and it's good to. I hate when those are always out. So that's good.
I still have a book from 4th grade.
With interest. He could pay the libraries.
Okay, and then
It's the Boston.
my last one is not really to do with the number as opposed to just like making sure that we stay aware, and I think that the master plan should sort of look at this, but anything within planning, we ding you a lot, and as a small business trying to make minor modifications or improvements, these dings, every time they come up and need a separate set of eyes, can add up very quickly and render many projects infeasible. And so I don't know the numbers. I trust that we've sort of done that, you know, that we've looked at that with scrutiny. But it is a good reminder to staff and to planning board and to us as we design policies, forcing, you know, there might be things that we can avoid some of these costs for small enough things or for positive enough things, or not forcing people to keep coming back over and over for you know, each plan. So you know, our policies, you know, these have real costs that affect how especially the small business community looks. So those are the largest numbers on our sheet. Just a good thing to stay aware of. That was it for me.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Any other councilors? Max, please.
This is a good thing, I promise.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
So my name is Max Marangel, I live at 127 Central Park Terrace. I just, last December, I brought up the issue of expanding the community assistance program, and I want to thank the town administration for taking the issue on. I'd specifically like to thank Amy Frigiletti for her work on this issue. The proposal, like I said, includes a 50% reduction in water, sewer, and trash bills for low-income residents. This is a lifesaver for our neighbors who are struggling to make ends meet. I hope we can continue to work together to better the lives of Franklin residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 24-914 to a second reading. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bylaw amendment 24-915, a bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin at chapter 139, sewers. First reading. Clerk will read the bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 24-915, chapter 139 sewers. A bylaw to amend the code of town of
Motion to waive the
Franklin.
reading?
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second to waive the reading. All those in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move bylaw amendment 24-915 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion?
This is the next two bylaws. One's sewer and one's a hardship for the snow removal. Those relate to what you just voted on.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Questions?
How?
yeah, could you add just
Yeah.
a little more
A
color?
little more,
How are they related?
They're coming up.
Thanks, Mel.
These guys. Well, I
Yeah. No,
try to synthesize it easy because not everybody wants to, but we'll let Doug go ahead and explain it.
So one of the changes on 139 is related to drain layers. So in order to do work on water or sewer on private residences or actually in public ways too, you need to be a licensed drain layer. So we've always had that. So we just updated the some of the language in there and updated the insurance requirements because those were outdated. The other change that we made was we still had asbestos cement pipe being acceptable material, so I got rid of that. I think that was it. So just yeah, just clean it up.
Thank you.
It was the time to do it.
Councilor Frangillo, did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was good, thank you.
I just want to talk about the affordability index for the snow removal. I think it's important.
That's next.
That's
Oh, it's next one?
That's
Oh.
next
Yep,
one.
hold on one second. Hold on one second.
So go on.
Any other questions on the sewers? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 24-915 to a second reading. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Bylaw amendment 24-916. A bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin at chapter 147, snow and ice removal of, first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 24-916. It's chapter 147, snow and ice removal. Bylaw to amend the code of town of Franklin at chapter 147, snow and ice removal of. There's only just one addition to this, so I'm not gonna, and that's exactly what I'm gonna read. Be enacted by the Franklin Town Council that the code of town of Franklin is amended at chapter 147, snow and ice removal of, by making the following addition as follows. This is to subsection 147-5, exception to compliance. The Department of Public Works Director is authorized to waive compliance with this bylaw by private residential property owners based on a determination of undue financial hardship to said private residential property owner or owners. This bylaw should become effective according to the provisions of the Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 24-916 to a second reading, right?
Yeah. Second.
Motion and a second, discussion, Brutus.
So, the first snow removal sidewalk program that, the areas of town that we designated is obviously gonna be very painful. You guys are gonna get a lot of calls, and we're gonna have to deal with it, so we're still looking at an educational type thing. But one thing, working with the town administrator, we identified residential type properties out there that might not have the financial means to take care of their property, then we'll go ahead and do it. It's basically we're trying to help people out, because we understand that. That's basically what it comes down to, right?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's correct. This is one of those where I fought the town attorney and the town attorney won. I was gonna put it in the community assistance program, but this was the more applicable place in the snow bylaw. Yep, paraphrasing the Clash song.
At least he listens to me.
Paraphrase the Clash song, just to, every once in a while. And I know Councilor Hamlin's gonna speak on this. She brought this to my attention, I think from some constituents that y'all have, and she can more eloquently speak to all the concerns that some residents have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this was brought to me by some residents who live, they live on 140, right, next to all the big grocery stores and everything, and they just didn't have the means to be able to clean it up, and they were very upset, and because they wanted to do what's right. They want to follow the bylaws, they want to follow everything, but they just couldn't do it. And so I appreciate the town administrator and Brutus for listening and taking it seriously, because it was very serious for some people. It's a lot of stress to worry about.
No problem.
And I just, we try to do what we can. I kept telling them, we knew that we were gonna have to adjust it, and we're gonna find a way to help. So, and then we did. So it was a win, I think. For us.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Any other discussion, Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah, I just want to, love policies like this, especially when it can be just as easy as like, hey, keep it vague, like essentially let us know. There's almost, by making a process, it sometimes makes it more, I just want to make sure that we're not like giving you guys a headache by keeping it so vague. We're confident.
Actually, through you, Mr. Chairman, this is easier, because having the DPW director do it, as we just went through the credits. Actually, I think some people that may have this hardship may not be aware of the other credits that are available to them through the water, sewer, and trash bills. So having the DPW handle this actually is streamlining it. It's very easy. And I think we're gonna be able to help educate people that live on 140, that are other customers that come in for those rebates. And hopefully more people will just know about all of this stuff that's available to them. So this was not a headache at all.
Cool.
Attorney Sorrell?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that the critical word there is undue. So it's not just, everybody would have a financial hardship to some degree. This basically is significant or disproportionate or something like that in your determination.
Right.
And, it was brought before, ultimately, it's the safety. We want to clear the sidewalks. So if someone can't do it, we still got to clear it for every other resident in town. So we want to make sure that happens and then help the folks out that do have different needs that they can't do it. Because obviously we have the equipment to do it. And, you're looking at property here and there, we can take care of it. It's not a big deal with the system. So it's the right thing to do.
I'll set Council from Joe. Any other councilors? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 24-916 to a second reading. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 24-59, gift acceptance, Veteran Services Department, $350, Senior Center, $125, Police Department, $1,000, Fire Department, $1,000. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you read most of it. Resolution 24-59, acceptance of gifts, Veteran Services Department, Senior Center, Police Department, and Fire Department. Whereas the Veteran Service Department, Senior Center, Police Department, and Fire Department have received generous donations in the total amount of $2,475 to be used at the discretion of each department as follows. Donation summary, Veteran Services Department, $350, which was from the Municipal Veterans Assistance Fund, which was $250. The Veterans Gift Fund for $100. Donations to be applied at the discretion of the Veteran Services Department through the Veterans Monument Restoration Fund and the Veterans Gift Fund in support of local veterans and their families. Senior Center, $125 for donations to be applied at the discretion of the Senior Center to provide services and programs to senior citizens at the Franklin community. For the Police Department, $1,000 police gift account. Donations to be applied at the discretion of the department through the police gift account towards the support of community policing programs, assisting with training needs and the purchase of essential equipment for officers. For the Fire Department, it's $1,000. Donation will be used at the department's discretion towards the purchase of safety and other related equipment and to fund department programs. The list of all donors is included in the September 18, 2024 Town Council meeting agenda packet. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council, Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Veteran Services Department, Senior Center, Police Department, and Fire Department, gratefully accepts these generous donations to be used at the discretion of each department for the purposes noted above. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-59.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Stevie?
Just thank everybody, and we always see Digital Federal Credit Union on these lists at some point, so thank you for their generous donations and everybody on the list.
Yeah. Again, thanks to the community for their continued support, local businesses for our different departments within the community. So, continued thanks. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-59. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town Administrator's report.
I share Attorney Bowman's comments about Officer Lawrence. We don't see retirements like that very often, and it was great to see him and his family here. Also, just want to pass along a story that was in the paper this week. Surprised the chief didn't mention it earlier. The passing of our canine, Robbie, in the news. He passed away after a brief illness, 7 years old, was with Officer Gilboy. That's a huge loss. And as I found out this week and was educated myself, that canines don't always get replaced, and for different reasons. And one of the things I didn't realize was that traditionally now they're used for drug searches, particularly fentanyl. And one of the downsides is the dogs, when they get there, Once the fentanyl touches their nose, ultimately, a lot of those dogs die right there. And so there's a new state police force that, with a whole series of new protocols on these things. This is just a trend that's been more recently with fentanyl. But we just want to offer our condolences to the PD and Robbie, and obviously thank him for his 7 years of service to this community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, subcommittee reports. Capital has not met. EDC has met.
Yes.
Councilor
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the Economic Development Subcommittee met earlier tonight. We introduced A.J. Rebecki to the team. He will be making our logo. He's doing the branding project with us. I think it was a really good meeting. Everybody was really, Kobe's like, yeah. Everybody's really excited to talk to him. We will probably have another meeting in October to go over some more stuff, but we actually have, he gave us some homework, so we're gonna have to do some homework for him. But it was very positive, and it was a really informative meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Budget Subcommittee, we did have our first meeting of the Joint Budget Subcommittee, which is made up of School Committee, Finance Committee, and Town Council members. And we started it very early, where this was our first meeting. We kind of laid out the groundwork as to how we were going to proceed, and Jamie put out a 5-year projection. We're meeting again in October, October 16th, I believe.
23rd.
23rd, sorry, was the next week. So our next meeting will be October 23rd, and I would just reach out to the community and say, please, come to these meetings, tune in to these meetings, get on the webinar, help us work through the budget issues that we are going to be facing as we build next year's budget. So please get involved, be involved. And if you can't get to the meetings or watch the meeting, call us. Call one of the members and get your voice heard. Okay, Master Plan Committee, Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next meeting for the Master Plan Committee will be on October 2nd as we speak, from September 3rd through October 2nd, actually through September 28th. The various departments are reviewing the goals and objectives, and we're hoping to get their feedback and review that feedback at our next meeting on October 2nd. Should be good.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. We've taken the Davis Day Reuse Advisory Committee off because it's been dissolved. But I did speak to Councilor Pellegrini earlier. Do we have an update on the RFP work that we do not?
Not even close.
Not even close.
It's a big one.
I know
That's
it's
really complicated procurement.
Okay. Timeframe, ballpark?
It hasn't even, to be honest with you, I'm just being straight up, it hasn't even been on my radar I've been doing so much other stuff. This is a pretty dense project for Brian, myself, Mark, maybe the end of the calendar year, I'm guessing.
After the master plan. would be my
Probably,
guess.
yeah. That's actually a pretty good point, probably after that, yeah.
Okay. Maybe at one of your next town administrator reports.
Sure.
If you could kind of lay out a timeframe.
Sure.
So that we could respond to the community and have the information for people that are asking. GATRA, police station, we haven't met yet, but GATRA, Councilor Frangiola.
Yeah, GATRA Advisory Board met today. Pretty standard stuff. The only real headline, if you will, is just their continued struggle to hire drivers. And so we're starting to work with across neighboring RTAs to share drivers to temporarily fill some gaps. But they pay pretty well. It's a pretty good gig. So if you know anyone looking for some work, I believe they help you get your license. Yeah, always in need of new drivers.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Okay, future agenda items. Councilor Sherry.
Nothing?
Councilor Frangillo.
Nothing this time.
Councilor Hamblin.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Pellegrini.
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The museum cupola, what's happening with that?
Not much. We just finished the screen. Yeah, it's a bandwidth issue. The screen inside, the screen that, the projector screen, that just got fixed about a month ago, maybe a couple months ago. It's just bandwidth. I mean, we're obviously knee-deep in this project here. Some employees have been out, on FMLA or medical reasons. It just, Steve O'Neill is gonna be managing that project. As folks know, the pavilion is being built up at the senior center right now. My guess is a procurement may go out on the services for the cupola, hopefully within the next month or two. But we're managing the project up at the senior center right now. Once that one gets either completed or like further along, we'll put out a procurement for the cupola project.
But wasn't that on the books before this project at the senior center? Yes, it was.
Well, maybe, both of them were 3 years ago. Both of them have been huge backlogs, but, we're
Jamie, it looks terrible.
It does look
You go
terrible.
by, it looks like it's gonna fall apart.
Yep.
And it needs to be done.
Yep.
It needs to be done. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Jones.
Yes, sir. Nothing.
Councilor, you're welcome. Okay, councilor comments. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'll start with some good news. Congratulations to Franklin High boys football. Freshman, JV, and varsity all won their games against Wachusett. It was a proud dad moment to see my son out there playing a ton of defense, so I was incredibly happy that day. Want to welcome the learning experience to Franklin. A few of us were able to go to the ribbon cutting this week, along with Senator Roush and Representative Roy, to have 148 new slots for childcare here in town is huge. And they have a particular focus on helping kids with special needs, helping with phonics and music and art and just all kinds of great stuff. I think they're going to be a great fit for Franklin. I've gotten a lot of sort of questions about the repair work here at Town Hall, and I've answered them to the best that I can. I just want to say publicly to everybody that these repairs have been scheduled. Town administrators mentioned it for years. This is not like some project that came up on a whim. Contracts get signed, deposits get made, people get lined up. There's infrastructure here, there's pipes, there's not just pretty carpet and some paint. So I understand that we have some fiscal challenges. I understand people are concerned about money to our schools. I get it. But that doesn't mean that all of the other projects come to a halt. And the staff in this building, which includes school administration, deserve to have a nice place to come to work. They deserve desks that aren't broken and chairs that aren't broken. And it's our responsibility to make sure they have it. So I'm proud of everybody that's involved in that project to beautify and bring up to current standards our town hall, where everybody wants to come and feel good. Finally, I will, because it was hours ago, and I know we're talking about moving possibly the agenda around, but the discussion that Ms. Callaway Tripp brought up about Facebook and hate groups and all that kind of stuff, I'll just say that of anybody, I certainly know what a hate group is, Ms. Callaway Tripp, and I certainly know when there are groups on Facebook that threaten us and threaten other people up here. So you have an opportunity to be a leader. You have an opportunity to, if you are a member of those groups, to say to those people, these threats aren't okay, those discussions aren't okay, name calling's not okay. But if you choose to participate in those groups and not say anything, then I guess you get lumped in with what they're saying. Those groups are not particularly the Patriot Group and particularly the F. Franklin Group, are not just disgruntled people here in town that don't believe in what we're doing. They're nasty, nasty individuals, and the things that they say and the threats that they make to us are disgusting. So that's why you don't see us participate on those groups, because we're not going to sink to that level. There are many, many other groups on Facebook and on social media where we engage with people and we talk and we meet and we can agree to disagree. But it doesn't come down to name calling and threats. So you have an opportunity, because I know you aspire to be up here one day. You have an opportunity on those groups to tell people to knock it off. And to tell people that if they truly want to have conversations with us, then we're here. But we're not going to stoop to that level. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think what I have is sad news. Some deaths that took place these past couple of weeks. The most, let's see here, Peter Brunelli, who has been on committees here in Franklin and that, and a young man has passed away. And to his family, we offer our condolences. Steve Crowe-Crowley, he's been a long-time member here, resident of Franklin, involved with many different things also. And he passed away this past week. And it's someone that we all know very well. And just recently, John O'Donnell passed away. And two of them, Steve and John, and I'm saying this only because I want people to be aware of what could happen. These people fell. They had accidents. I mean, it wasn't that they were sick. They had an accident. Hit their heads and lingered for such a short time and passed away. People have to be so careful. When I was talking to a friend the other day, I said, you know, what have you been doing? Oh, I'm doing my fall cleaning. She says, and I fell off the ladder. People, we have to think about this. You know, we're not 20-something years old. This girl here, she was 80.
Some of us
She was
are.
82.
Yeah.
She's on.
That's
She's
good.
on.
No, I need the reminder.
Well, I mean,
You're pulling a
sometimes we
Drake,
think
too.
we can do anything and everything. And I'm only bringing this up because I want to tell people, you can't do anything and everything. You're getting older, get someone to do it for you. There are people out there, friends even, that will just help you. But don't do silly, ridiculous things that's going to cause death. And I'm not saying that that's what caused these deaths, but they were falls. And our condolences to the three families here. And you know, I'm sure that there were others too that I didn't mention. So to all of them, very sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Sheridan.
I would just second everything that's been said so far.
Thank you. Councilor Frangillo.
Okay. Tomorrow we have our office hours at the senior center, and then student government wanted to make a big push to make sure that this year's homecoming game was clearly family friendly, and they want to encourage as many residents to stop by. That's this Friday, 5:45 to 6:45 is the tailgate. They got food trucks, they got lawn games. They're looking for as much community involvement for that football game. So go take part.
Come buy a hot dog from
Sounds
me.
good.
And buy a hot dog from Ted.
I'll be there.
I'll be there for Subway.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly, I would like to really thank TJ Lynch and Officer Lawrence for bringing everyone in. I always enjoy that a lot. And the DPW team tonight for all their work. You know, I mean, those numbers kind of are mind-blowing, but we have to have them and accept them and deal with them, right? It's reality. So they did a lot of work, and I want to thank them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ditto to everything that Councilor Hamlin said. Jamie, you have a great staff. You really do. A lot of wonderful people. I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm happy to have Councilor Plegry back. I'm glad you're feeling better. We missed you at the last council meeting, so glad you're feeling healthier. You're right, everybody, please take care of yourself. I just found out my uncle died a little while ago, so, yeah, it's
Sorry
tough.
about
He's
that.
84, I think. So, yeah, it's tough. But you do have to watch yourself. You never know when somebody might be driving along in their car on their cell phone and cause a 4-car pileup at the end of 95. So that happened this week on my way to work. Luckily, I wasn't in the mix of it, but it's crazy out there. Be safe.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor DeLarco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't care.
No, go ahead,
All right.
Councilor DeLarco.
All right. You see, I was listening to the radio that morning. I went down Route 1, so I didn't hit that. But, yeah, I mean, especially, Peter Benelli is a real good, close personal friend of mine. And, if you could call somebody Mr. Franklin, it would be pretty close to Peter Benelli. Absolutely. Because, I mean, he's done a lot, and he never refused to help anything to do with Franklin. I mean, he's a great guy. My kids worked for him. He was a great person. If you needed, we went to him, you need to raise money, he always stepped up. I mean, he did a lot of work. I mean, Tommy probably sat on a lot of boards with him. So to him and his family, I will surely miss him. In Crow too. Crow was I've known Crow for Christ almost my whole life. So to him, and they fall down and they just I don't know they trip and so be careful. I mean I'm not the greatest guy in the world either. So I'll be honest with you. I fall down a lot myself.
You mean not as you were back in '78?
Now get back up again.
But I have got up but outside of that, you guys all did a good job tonight. I appreciate all the hard work that you guys did. And it's before 11, so I really appreciate that. So.
Thank you, Grace. Councilor Pellegrini, did you have something?
I just wanted to add a little something. We say that we're criticized, where people aren't being very nice to us or whatever. I have to just tell you something. Being out last council meeting, and I got more phone calls from people. I got texts from people. I even got a couple of cards from people that I hope you're feeling better.
That's awesome.
I was overwhelmed with it, I really was. There are a lot of good people. There's only maybe a little handful that might criticize us or whatever. But they know that we're doing a good job and all that we can do. Okay, but to all of those people, I just want to say thank you.
Could be your age.
Well, it's in my age, it is.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Just a couple of quick ones. First one, Councilor Chandler, I was very impressed that you read that proclamation without your glasses. Well done. But I obviously like to congratulate Jim Lawrence on his retirement and wish him all the best, and also congratulate Eric Cuson on being pinned with the #1 Drillman badge, and thank them both for their service to our great community. As well, our DPW presentation this evening was, as much as it pains to see the numbers, it was very informative, very to the point. I think hits a lot of points that many councilors have made on many occasions, that our infrastructure is in dire straits, and we need to start looking at how we deal with that as we move forward. And lastly, all of the 3 people that have been mentioned that passed away, Peter Brunelli was a close friend, and offer my condolences, obviously, to his entire family. Steve Crowley, I've known all my life. We went to school together. And I offer condolences to his family, all of his family, and John O'Donnell, another one that I've known pretty much all my adult life. So I offer all those families our condolences. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by